Quite as warm as today, though, but we should still get temperatures across the south into the high teens, chilly on that east coast.
There will be a light in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Friday, the 4th of April. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Market meltdown. China has just said it will add a 34% tariff on all US goods, kicking off a global trade war. This comes as stock markets plunge by £2 trillion and Britain's braced for more financial chaos.
A new shock poll puts the Reform Party way ahead of Labour and the Conservatives today. 28% of people in this poll say they'd vote for the party if there were a general election held tomorrow.
And some breaking news for you. An anti-abortion activist has been found guilty of 2 charges of breaching a buffer zone outside of an abortion clinic in Bournemouth. The Trump administration have taken a keen interest in this case. How will they react?
And a Labour council is telling staff to undergo a privilege test as part of its efforts to combat so-called unconscious bias against ethnic minorities. Stay tuned to find out if you have signs of white privilege, according to this particular council.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May.
God save the King. The Royal Navy warship HMS Duncan hosts a street party to mark 1 month until the 80th anniversary of VE Day.
And brace And brace yourself, GB News is at the races today. Thousands are at Aintree racecourse for one of the biggest days in the horse racing calendar. Brace yourself again for the fabulous frocks and some raucous behaviour.
The sun is shining and yes, the fashion is looking very, very fabulous. It's shaping up to be another wonderful ladies' day here at Aintree.
Wouldn't mind being up at Aintree today for Ladies' Day.
Yeah.
Bit of glitz and glam.
I can imagine you'd look good in a hat.
Lots of Prosecco is drunk. Now, what you've got to wait for, Tom, is tomorrow's newspapers, OK? Because as every year, what happens is some ladies get a little bit drunk, and yes, maybe their fake tan isn't in the right place anymore, and maybe the eyelashes have gone askew. Maybe the lipstick is no longer on the lips, and the photos are brilliant. So there you go. Stay tuned for that tomorrow.
Perhaps unladylike day it becomes, but that's...
Maybe a little. I don't judge, though.
No.
People have a nice time, you know, frolic about. But there are more serious matters to talk about today as well.
There are indeed. I mean, it is just beginning. I mean, in the last hour or so, we've heard the news from China that reciprocal tariffs are coming back. How many more countries are going to impose tariffs on the United States? And then will the United States go further beyond that in reciprocation? I mean, they think that the tariffs that they first put on were reciprocal. So then if there's another reciprocation and then a further reciprocation... I mean, this is an arms race.
Oh, yeah, I think this is just the start of it. There's going to be a lot of batting to and fro, depending on what kind of country you are and what size economy you are, because, of course, on our own, we probably don't have that much weight to be able to go and slap tariffs on the United States and try and fight back. But the European Union, they certainly want to. China certainly wants to, so it's all kicking off.
But this is so insane. We put tariffs on countries to sanction them. And now countries are sort of doing this to sanction themselves? I mean, if you think Donald Trump's tariffs are bad, why on earth would you want more tariffs?
China wants to protect its industries, doesn't it? And it wants to, you know, hit back at Donald Trump to show him a lesson.
And the European Union are fighting fire with fire. I mean, thank goodness, so far, our government hasn't succumbed to the same pressure. Thank goodness we're not putting more tariffs on American imports, because that is just a tax on the British people.
We don't have the might either, really, to play that game, I don't think.
Even if we were the largest economy in the world...
I think we could do it then.
No, we shouldn't.
I think we could, yeah.
We absolutely should not.
I think we could.
When we were...
Fight, tariff, and then meet in the middle somewhere.
When we were the largest economy in the world, when the British Empire spread a third of the earth, we pursued a policy of free trade.
We did, yes.
We did not go for autarky.
The world has changed, though, Tom. Lots has happened in the between times.
There was someone who proposed imperial preference, but that policy lost out.
Lots has changed. There's lots of competing factors now, and a lot of politics in it, and a lot of hostility from certain states. So it's not just about free trade in my mind for Mr. Trump. But gbnews.com/your say, and I'm going to get onto Westminster City Council as well soon. That white privilege test is absolutely appalling. But that's after your headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just coming up to 5 minutes past midday. As we were just hearing, the FTSE 100 has plunged nearly 4%, wiping out 150 points in just an hour. That's after China unveiled a 34% tariff on all US imports. That is the steepest fall since December. Those retaliatory moves from Beijing have rattled global investors, with European markets also tumbling today. And it marks a major escalation in trade tensions between the world's two biggest economies. Well, speaking earlier on the matter of tariffs, Foreign Secretary David Lammy says Britons will be very concerned about how it could hit their finances.
We have been absolutely clear that all options are on the table as we ensure the national interests of the British people, who will be very concerned at this time about how this affects the bottom line for them and their economic welfare. We will put their national interests first.
Despite those comments from David Lammy, Donald Trump claims Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer is very happy with the move on tariffs.
We have a very good dialogue going. I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
Ministers, though, say they will stay cool and calm, but retaliatory levies on US goods like whiskey, jeans and guitars are reportedly being considered. In other news, breaking this afternoon, an anti-abortion activist at the centre of a US free speech row has been found guilty of breaching a buffer zone outside a Bournemouth abortion clinic. Livia Tosiki-Bolt was convicted of breaching a public spaces protection order on 2 occasions in March last year. The 64-year-old held a sign saying, "Here to talk if you want," near the clinic. Her case drew international attention after a US State Department bureau said it was monitoring proceedings and urged the UK to protect freedom of expression. But a judge said she failed to recognise the distress that her presence could cause women using that clinic. And also breaking today, a mother who suffocated her newborn baby 25 years ago has been spared jail after admitting manslaughter due to postnatal depression. Joanne Sharkey was traced through DNA after her other son was arrested decades later. The baby boy, named Callum by police, was found in woodland near a theme park in Warrington in 1998. Now aged 55, Sharkey received a suspended sentence after the judge said her mental state had substantially impaired her judgment. Her family wept in the court as the judge called the case terrible and tragic, but said compassion was needed. In other news, Birmingham's bin strike is being called a public health crisis, with streets buried under weeks of uncollected rubbish. After a month of walkouts, government ministers have now stepped in and they're calling the mess totally unacceptable and demanding a deal be struck. The council's declared a major incident, bringing in extra crews to claw back control. But the Unite union is doubling down, accusing Labour leaders of slashing pay and declaring war on workers. The UK's last remaining blast furnaces could shut within days after Chinese owners have cut off vital raw materials. Jinjiai, who own British Steel in Scunthorpe, rejected a £500 million government offer, causing talks to collapse. Union reps say orders for coal and iron ore have now been cancelled, meaning the furnaces could close even sooner than expected. Ministers are now weighing emergency options, including nationalisation, to save what is Britain's only source of virgin steel. And pubs, clubs and restaurants across the country could soon stay open later under a major shake-up of licensing rules. The government's giving mayors new powers to overhaul councils and boost nightlife in key areas like London, Manchester and Birmingham. The Chancellor, though, says it's about cutting red tape and helping the hospitality industry grow. And that's as the sector has already been hit with a £3.4 billion rise in costs just this month alone. Ministers hope the change will lead to more late-night openings and alfresco dining across the UK. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you in around half an hour's time. Now, though, it's over to Tom and Emily.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon, Britain. At 9 minutes past midday, it's war. Trade war. Yes, China hits back against Donald Trump's tariffs, saying it will impose an additional 34% tax on all US goods from next week.
Yes, it's kicking off, but back here in Blighty, Britain is bracing itself for more market chaos today. It's already hit, really, as the government considers its response to President Trump's tariffs. They're not fighting fire with fire, though, like the Chinese and perhaps the European Union.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
But business leaders have urged Sir Keir Starmer against retaliating, as he is currently holding to. Donald Trump claims the UK is happy, though, with the tariff announcement.
Yes, we have a very good dialogue going. And I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
So there you go, that's Donald Trump's assessment. But should we be happy with the outcome of these tariffs? For some, especially in the car manufacturing industry, of course, experts are warning many 1,000 jobs could be at risk. But JCB, this is interesting, JCB has become the first major British manufacturer to say it will bolster its US operations in response to Donald Trump's tariffs. So they're actually going to move a lot of their working operations over to the United States.
Well, that's not going to be particularly good for the United Kingdom, is it?
No, obviously not, no.
No.
But it's Trump's plan, isn't it?
Let's speak now to the Conservative Member of Parliament, Mark Francois, because, Mark, I suppose the government is doing about best they can in the circumstances. We did get the lowest rate of any country, albeit many different countries did get that rate, and we're not fighting back with tariffs. Surely that's a sensible and grown-up move from the Prime Minister.
Good afternoon. If you're wondering why it's a different background from usual, I've been judging a talent contest at Wyburns Primary School in my patch, and the head's very kindly let me use her study.
That's adorable, Mark.
Yeah, it's called Wyburns Got Talent. I've just seen a kid do a dance routine dressed as a dinosaur. It's one of the funniest things I've seen.
Fantastic, Mark. That does sound wonderful, but I do have to ask you about the dance routine the Prime Minister is performing.
Right, OK. Well, look, this is a worrisome situation. As you said yourself, Tom, earlier, historically, tariff wars, trade wars don't benefit anyone. In the 1930s, there were tariff wars across much of the globe, and the global economy suffered greatly. So I very much hope this is not going to escalate. We've got lower tariffs than some others because, fortunately, we're no longer in the European Union. They're paying, well, it's 20% for them. But even so, we've still got tariffs equivalent now to Kosovo or the Congo or the Christmas Islands. So in this situation, the best thing we could do is to exploit the fact that we're no longer in the EU, that we have Brexit freedoms to seek a major trade deal, a tariff-free trade deal with the United States. That would be our best course of action, because as you will know from previous debates, when you're in the EU, when you're in a customs union, you can't have independent trade deals. Now that we're no longer fettered in that way, we've already signed 70 deals since we left the EU, including with Australia and New Zealand. We should now go for a deal with the United States. And if we were to get that, there'd be the most wonderful irony that Peter Mandelson, the Europhile among Europhiles, would have to stand outside the British Embassy in Washington and welcome the fact that we'd done a deal with the Americans because we left the European Union.
Yes, that would be quite the sight. Mark, but is that all wishful thinking? I mean, why would Donald Trump want to sign a free trade deal with the United Kingdom when he's all about the tariffs?
Well, I think we should try, because the United States is the single biggest international investor in the United Kingdom. And this might surprise some people. The United Kingdom is the single biggest international investor in the United States. So we already have a strong trading relationship. But the real fundamental difference now is we're no longer in the European Union. So we should maximise that competitive advantage and try and get a comprehensive trade deal, ideally tariff-free, with the United States to bolster their trade and to bolster ours. But history shows, historically, tariff wars, trade wars don't benefit anyone ultimately, and I don't think they would benefit the United Kingdom, and over time I don't think they would benefit the United States either.
Yeah. Well, Mark Francois, thanks indeed for joining us. Thanks to the head teacher of the school you're in as well for graciously lending you his office.
Look at that multitasking, eh? You know, talent show in the morning, Good Afternoon Britain in the afternoon. Shall we get the thoughts of British manufacturer John Elliott, who presumably is going to be impacted by what's going on between the United States and the rest of the world? John, tell us a little bit about your business and your thoughts generally on what's been happening over the last couple of days.
Well, we manufacture washing machines, air source heat pumps and dehumidifiers in County Durham. We export to the USA, actually. But that isn't our biggest problem. Tariffs come and go. Stock markets go up and down. The biggest problem in the UK is we don't have a sensible industrial strategy. We collectively consume more than we produce, and we make that up by, the deficit is made up by debt that we can't afford. We need to make more things, produce more food in the UK for the UK market. That's the easy market. Why bother selling to the USA when we can sell to the UK? The home market's where we should be looking to stop imports.
You think we should be reducing the amount of international trade that we do Surely most economists would say that the larger a market you have to sell to, the more money you potentially could make. Don't you, as a manufacturer, appreciate that there are not just 67 million people who can buy your products, but there's a whole world out there?
I agree. But the fact that economists believe that is a good start because they're usually wrong. We've got to, it's too simple for them, actually, what we've got to do. We've got to manufacture more goods in the UK, and the best market is the UK market, rather than bring imports in. Which, you know, let's look at making more stuff. We need a strategy that's common sense, not highfalutin noise, which economists come up with, simply making the things that you and I consume. Why not grow tomatoes in the UK in polytunnels?
Because it's cheaper to grow them in Spain.
It's not cheaper in Holland. That's where they come from.
So, John, is your view that basically what the government is deciding to do in this country with our taxes, our own regulatory scheme, that's more important to businesses like you, manufacturers who know how this works, rather than a tariff that's been slapped on by the United States?
Absolutely right. Of course, it's right to export some things where you get economies of scale. But the first market is the home market. But we're too busy about talking about AI and all complicated things. It's the basic things that you and I consume. Clothing, food, things we need every day. Let's make them for the home market.
And yet, when we talk about an industrial strategy, I mean, I don't know how many different governments have tried to introduce various complicated industrial strategies. I mean, the Department for Business was renamed for a time, the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. But I put it to you, John Elliott, that the middle word there is actually the most important of all of them. Energy. The reason we don't have so much manufacturing in this country is that our energy is more expensive than just about any other country in the world.
And we could solve that tomorrow, but we don't do it. We've got to look at the simple things. We complicate it too much. Industrial strategy is something like let's develop highly skilled people to develop new products to sell throughout the world. There's no words to that. Let's just make the basic things that you and I consume. We've got a trade deficit that we can't afford. We've got 100 million trade deficit with the EU because we've got no tariffs. We're losing out there. You know, it's probably we should be thinking about put tariffs on the EU, so we manufacture things in the UK.
And John, just very quickly, lastly, will you be keeping your business in Britain?
Yes.
Good. OK, John Elliott, thank you very much. Fantastic to get your perspective as a British manufacturer. Knows what he's talking about. Yes, well, good luck to you.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go live to Downing Street now. Our political editor has been speaking with the Prime Minister's official spokesman. Chris Hope, thanks for joining us. This is a turbulent day in global markets. How's the government responding?
Well, keep calm and carry on is the message from the building behind me where Sir Keir Starmer's working, of course. This weekend he should be in his country house, Chequers. Lots of phone calls, a flurry of phone calls taking place between Keir Starmer and other world leaders, but unlikely to be Donald Trump. We could see those calls emerging today and over the weekend as the global community tries to work out what on earth to do about the changed economics landscape. The line from the government I thought was so interesting from the PM's deputy official spokesman. The global landscape, the global economic landscape is shifting and we need to improve our domestic competitiveness, he says. The UK is now in a new era and that means acting in our national interest. Now, I said to them, as you might expect me to say to them on your behalf, Tom and Emily, is this now a Brexit dividend, having only 10% tariffs compared to the EU's 20% tariffs? And he says that their position on this, they wouldn't mention the word Brexit or the word dividend, but they did say our position on this is we approach it with a cool head and a pragmatic mindset, but they accept the government that tariffs on the UK are relatively more favourable than on other countries. However, the impact on this country, because of the tariffs on the EU, will be real. So as things go, as the markets are seeing, unclear what's going on next, and that's why I think it's uncertainty, but they're trying to be cool and calm, and no plans for immediate tariffs to go back on America just yet.
OK, Christopher Hope, thank you very much indeed for that update on what is a very special day, an interesting day, fast-moving. But, of course, there's other news as well as tariffs. In the last hour, an anti-abortion campaigner has been convicted of 2 charges of breaching a buffer zone outside an abortion clinic in Bournemouth.
Yes, the 64-year-old Livia Tosisky Bolt held up a sign that said, "Here if you want to talk," outside the clinic, which the judge ruled could have a detrimental effect on women attending the clinic, as well as members of staff.
Well, to react to this news, let's speak to political commentator Emma Trimble. Emma, this is very interesting indeed, not just for us here in Britain, but also because the Trump administration have been taking such a keen interest in this case. I believe they said they're monitoring it, so I'm assuming they'll have some reaction. We know how much they're concerned about free speech in this country, but just your initial thoughts on this result.
Yeah, I mean, apparently they're so interested in this that it's even featured in the UK-US trade talks. So we've seen already from J.D. Vance, has expressed extreme concerns from the US administration's perspective about the sorry state of freedom of speech in this country. And as you say, you know, she's held up a sign that says, "Here to talk if you want to." So she's opening herself up to consensual conversations, and has now been convicted of breaching one of these buffer zone areas. And the issue here actually is not whether, you know, this is not a question about the rights or wrongs of abortion. This is not even a question about whether or not she broke the law. The point is that these buffer zones are themselves rotten. We've seen other people being arrested for simply praying inside of their own heads, not holding up any sign or anything, not harassing anybody, not approaching anybody. And today we've seen in reaction to this, the MP Stella Creasy, who's been very vocal on pro-abortion issues, saying that this is not a free speech controversy, and talking about the right of women to choose. But clearly she isn't interested in the right of women to choose to have consensual conversations. So I think actually the issue here is that this woman is opening herself up to having these conversations. And, you know, some statistics say that around 7% of women are coerced into abortions. Of course, we can't really know the exact number, but it might be that some women do want to talk and that they can't have those conversations within the abortion facilities. So why shouldn't women be able to make that choice? It seems as if actually MPs like Stella Creasy only want women to make the choices that they want them to make.
Well, some breaking news to bring you. News just in. Livia Tosisky-Bolt has been sentenced at Poole Magistrates Court to a conditional discharge for 2 years for 2 charges of breaching that buffer zone outside an abortion clinic in Bournemouth, Dorset.
So, Emma, just on that, just hearing about her sentencing there, presumably you believe this should never have gone to court in the first instances and that buffer zones shouldn't exist. But there are quite a lot of women who have spoken out and said it's incredibly intimidating and harassing, even for someone with, you know, an inane... not an inane, but a very calmly worded placard like that.
Well, I think there are 2 aspects of this. One aspect is, of course, you know, how do you define harassment? Because I think we've seen a very elasticated understanding of what constitutes harassment, particularly in recent years, not just in relation to, you know, the abortion issue and buffer zones. And of course, the other issue is whether or not these buffer zones should exist in the first place, because of course, harassment is already illegal. There are other ways in which the law could deal with actual harassment of women outside of abortion clinics. I don't think, you know, even those, you know, who have been arrested in relation to this would think that women should be harassed or that there should be protests, actual protests outside of abortion facilities. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is a law that prevents people from maybe standing in the street with their back turned to the abortion facility, praying inside of their own head. Prayer in these areas is illegal. And so this is an issue of freedom of thought, of freedom of conscience, of freedom of speech. So I think actually what really should be in the dock on this is the buffer zones themselves, not those people who have breached it.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see how they react in the United States. Emma Trimble, thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more to come. Indeed, a Labour Council is telling staff to undergo a privilege test as part of effort to combat unconscious bias against ethnic minorities. Stay tuned to see if you have signs of white privilege, according to this particular council.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What's the inspiration? How does it feel?
Well, I mean, this is a very personal story because I was in a relationship that had come to an end and, you know, when you're like, let's just have that meeting, that one last chat to put, you know, all our differences aside. And I was expecting to meet for a chat, and when I opened the front door, his key was on the mat. Like, he'd literally come and done a flit, got his stuff and left.
Done a runner?
Yeah, I didn't want to face me.
So you never got that kind of closure?
I never got the closure. I felt sick. I got like this gut punch. I ran to the fridge. I poured a big glass of wine and cried a lot. And that's kind of how the song came about. I wanted to create a song with my co-writer, Paul Fisser, like that really made people feel how I felt at the time. And I think we did that with this one.
Do you take a lot of inspiration from kind of your own past life experiences then when you're writing?
I do now. I mean, with Atomic Kitten, I spent 20+ years singing somebody else's lyrics.
Right.
So for me to write my own stories and my own life lessons and sing about it, it just hits differently and it's quite cathartic and
freeing, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's a bit like therapy.
I was going to ask about that, with the difference between being in a band for so long and now going on a solo career. So that's really interesting. Obviously, you're singing other people's songs. So do you sort of feel like as a band for hire, or do you know what I mean? You turn up and sort of sing the songs that someone else created for you. Is
not
that
really. I mean,
not the wrong way of putting it? Do you know what I mean? But this is now much more personal.
There's an emotional connection to your own lyrics. If I wrote Whole Again, I would probably cry.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 28 minutes past midday. Now, Westminster City Council is telling its staff to take a so-called white privilege test, all as parts of its efforts to combat what it calls unconscious bias against ethnic minorities.
Oh, we are moving away from all this tosh. Clearly not. The Labour-run council claims the move will help boost recruitment of global majority candidates. So global majority means anyone who's not white, for senior posts, but opponents argue it unfairly discriminates against equally qualified white candidates. OK, so we've been looking at this test, 14 questions to check your level of privilege. Right. OK, so the first one is, Tom, true or false for you?
OK.
My parents or guardians read to me when I was a child.
True.
White privilege.
Oh, no.
I have to take annual leave for my religious holidays. True or false?
I genuinely don't know.
False. You're culturally Christian.
Right.
English is my first language. True or false?
True.
Well, that's a privilege.
Is it?
In England, apparently.
Right, OK.
In Westminster, apparently it's a privilege. I drive a new car.
No, that's not true.
But you are learning. I have a designer handbag. True or false?
I don't own a designer handbag.
Oh, you're not very privileged, are you?
I'm getting
You're
up
not very
the oppression
privileged.
points.
You're not very privileged. Now, we can't go through all of them, but I will just point out a couple more. I do most of my food shopping at Waitrose or M&S.
No, Sainsbury's.
I am a white male.
I apologise. But I am, in fact, a white male.
Ding, 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 ding. You are uber privileged. You're off the scale, and you shouldn't even bother going into Westminster City Council looking for help.
No job for me at Westminster Council.
I mean, it's just crazy. Let's discuss whether this is a good idea. We're joined by political commentator Aman Bogal. I mean, Aman, this is absolutely crazy, isn't it?
It's absolutely bonkers, bakwas, Emily. I took the same test before I came on air today, and I self-identified myself as a white male, and I guess that shot up my white privilege a great amount. But look, is this the Council of Westminster, or is it wanting to be the Council of Westmere? I mean, look, let's be honest. This is a loony Labour Westminster Council, and I think it should be dismissed en masse for three things: for racist anti-white discrimination, for criminal waste of taxpayer pounds, and let's not forget, neglect of its basic duties. That is to deliver good local services, collecting your bins, making sure your roads have not got potholes, and making sure that it costs the local taxpayer the least amount of money. Now, you know what? Many moons ago, when I joined the diplomatic service, this is the first thing that I received as a letter from the head of the diplomatic service at the time. It said, "Congratulations, you are now a member of the diplomatic service. You have been appointed on merit through a fair and open competition." And you know what? That's what makes Britain Britain. That we value merit through a very simple thing of rule of law and about doing the right thing. And I don't think Westminster Council is doing the right thing with this absolute bonkers bakwa.
I mean, this is far left, sort of the wokest of universities, student rubbish. But what's really concerning about this is that they're applying this type of thing to their recruitment process. You've got the council's chief executive saying that if you don't have a certain number of ethnic minority people on your candidate list, then you've got to go. You've got to proceed further with this decision-making process. Got to involve him in it. It's like they're trying to manufacture who is working for their council so that it perfectly aligns with the makeup of the council. As in the residents?
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Their only duty is to deliver good local services at low taxpayer costs. But let's break this down a bit. If you look at some of the services they're providing, so for example, before coming on it, I looked at their My Westminster Resident Portal. Now that is something, local residents use to book waste collections, renew parking permits and all the rest of it. It asks you about your gender and sexual orientation. It asks you about your ethnicity. But what probably matters more to most people is, well, it doesn't ask about how old you are. Perhaps as a pensioner, you might need extra assistance with your waste collection. It doesn't ask you whether you have a disability. You might need more disability parking permits. So it's all quite skewed. And you know what? The CEO of Westminster Council is paid more than double the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but it seems that makes sense. It seems that, Aman, it all comes down to his guilt because he grew up as a white child during the apartheid in South Africa. Now, last time I looked, this isn't South Africa, and we have a rather different history. Aman Bogal, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed. Yes, one of my old councils sent around a tick-in-the-box test with your bin collection, and it asked all of these things, sexual orientation, all this, about a bin collection survey.
Are you going to get more frequent bin collections if you come from an ethnic minority?
If you're gay or if you're I don't know. I mean...
These
absolute jobs worth.
Baffling. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May.
Good old Winston. Yes, the Royal Navy warship HMS Duncan hosts a street party to mark 1 month until the 80th anniversary of VE Day. We'll be there live after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom. The top story this hour, the FTSE 100 has plunged nearly 4%, wiping out 150 points in just the space of an hour. That's after China unveiled a 34% tariff on all US imports. That is the steepest fall since December. The retaliatory move from Beijing has rattled global investors, with European markets also tumbling. It marks a major escalation in trade tensions between the world's two biggest economies. Well, Foreign Secretary David Lammy says Britons will be very concerned about how rising tariffs could hit their finances.
We have been absolutely clear that all options are on the table as we ensure the national interests of the British people, who will be very concerned at this time about how this affects the bottom line for them and their economic welfare. We will put their national interests first.
Despite that, though, Donald Trump claims the Prime Minister is very happy with the move on tariffs.
We have a very good dialogue going.
Sorry.
I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
Sorry.
Ministers, though, say they'll stay cool and calm, but retaliatory levies on US goods like whiskey, jeans and guitars are being considered. Well, in other news, an anti-abortion activist at the centre of a US free speech row has been found guilty of breaching a buffer zone outside a Bournemouth abortion clinic. Livia Tosiki-Bolt was sentenced to a 2-year conditional discharge after breaking a public spaces protection order on 2 occasions. The 64-year-old held a sign saying, "Here to talk if you want," near that clinic in March last year. Her case drew international attention, with the US State Department urging the UK to protect free speech and expression. But a judge said that the woman failed to recognise the distress that her actions would cause to other women using the clinic. And also today, a mother who suffocated her newborn baby 25 years ago has been spared jail after admitting manslaughter due to postnatal depression. Joanne Sharkey was traced through DNA after her other son was arrested decades later. The baby boy, named Callum by police, was found in Woodland near a theme park in 1998. Now aged 55, Sharkey received a suspended sentence after the judge said her mental state had substantially impaired her judgment. Her family wept in court as the judge called the case terrible and tragic. Those are the latest headlines for now. A full roundup at 1 o'clock, and Tom and Emily will be back after this.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the A1 in Nottinghamshire, the northbound exit to the A46 at Newark is closed because of a breakdown. In Cambridgeshire, the A141 is partly blocked each way between March and Guyherne, causing delays. On the M26 in Kent, there are queues from Junction 2 for the A2 to the Dartford tunnels after an accident earlier. On the M5 in Somerset, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 23 and 22 from Bridgewater North to Burnham-on-Sea, causing delays. And in West Sussex, the A27 is partly blocked eastbound by an accident at the Fishbourne roundabout near Chichester, causing delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new Royal Newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
This Sunday on GB News Breakfast, we've got a special treat for you.
It's me, Angela Rippon.
For just one morning, the broadcast and Strictly Star joins the breakfast team to bring you all the news as it happens.
Nice positive story then.
Another special day here on GB News.
Well, we're still here after the last one.
GB News Breakfast with me, Stephen Dixon, and Angela Rippon this Sunday from 6.
Yes, we'll be around for a while.
This Sunday on GB News Breakfast, we've got a special treat for you.
It's me, Angela Rippon.
For just one morning, the broadcast and Strictly Star joins the breakfast team to bring you all the news as it happens.
Nice positive story then.
Another special day here on GB News.
Well, we're still here after the last one.
GB News Breakfast with me, Stephen Dixon, and Angela Rippon this Sunday from 6.
Yes, we'll be around for a while.
Looking forward to Angela Rippon this Sunday.
Yeah.
She's brilliant, marvellous, fabulous.
Absolutely, good to be back. But it's just 1 month to go until we mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day, and the Royal Navy warship HMS Duncan is hosting a street party to pay tribute to the remaining veterans of the Second World War.
Yes, the event is also designed to encourage members of the public to get involved in the Great British Food Festival for VE Day by hosting their own celebrations on the 5th of May.
Well, our national reporter Charlie Peters is there on the ground for us. Charlie, what's the mood?
Well, good afternoon, Emily and Tom, and welcome to HMS Duncan. It is an air defence destroyer. It's a lean, mean war-fighting machine. It recently returned from the Eastern Mediterranean, where it was returning from an operational deployment. But today, it's all about commemoration. It's about a street party ahead of the 80th anniversary of VE Day, as they're preparing for the Great British Food Festival. See what they've done there? Very smart, I know. So there've been sailors, there've been cadets, school children, and also a couple of celebrities here today to mark the 1 month until that 80th anniversary. And earlier we spoke with friend of the Armed Forces, Ross Kemp, about just how important it is to make sure that we follow this commemoration.
It's very easy to forget that the freedoms that we enjoy in this country came at a price. And the veterans that are still alive, they won't be alive, sadly, in 10 years' time. So 80 is a big benchmark. And I think we should let them know that we appreciate the sacrifices that they and their colleagues made for us to enjoy the freedoms that we have. And also for us to be proud of being British, to come together up and down the country, celebrate it with food. We all like food. I certainly do. So whether it's a curry, whether it's a barbecue, whether it's a street party, come together, celebrate who we are and celebrate the fact that we have the freedoms that we do, and remember the sacrifices that were made in order for us to have those freedoms.
Well, as we approach 80 years, not very many of those Second World War veterans remain, and so school children have been writing letters to them, thanking them for their service and creating that intergenerational conversation. I'm very happy to say I'm now joined by Ali Meinl from a local school as part of the school children who were here today. Ali, how important is it for those generations to have those links?
Vitally important. It's been wonderful for our children to have the opportunity to think about what happened 80 years ago and to have the chance to actually talk to the veterans that are still around and to show their gratitude for everything that they did for us 80 years ago. It seems such a long time ago, and for our children, they wouldn't have known about it if we didn't have these wonderful celebrations.
They've been writing letters to veterans as well. Tell me about how important that is.
So they just wanted to get their thoughts out and their feelings, and just reading their letters is really heartening to see that they understand the sacrifices that the veterans made for us, to hear the stories from the veterans about the countries they visited, the opportunities they had, the experiences they had, and then for our children to try and imagine really what they gave up for us to live the lives we live today.
And it's not every day school children get to go on a Royal Navy ship in the sun. It must have been a great day out for them.
It's been absolutely marvellous. We had a street party, superb food. They're now looking around the ship. They're going into the operations room. They're up on the bridge. They're really getting a taste of what the Navy's all about, and it's amazing, yes.
Ali Meinl, thank you so much. Well, the school kids get to go to the operations room. Unfortunately, the journalists did not, probably obvious reasons for that, but everyone here has been having an excellent time as we prepare 1 month towards the anniversary of VE Day. We're hoping to have a massive street party celebration on that Bank Holiday Monday in early May.
A wonderful day there in Portsmouth. Thank you, Charlie, for bringing us that report. And, of course, we will be gearing up to that 80th anniversary, of course, on GB News, so you're going to want to stick with us.
Absolutely. But if you're in search of touring some of the places that we declared victory over, here are the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After some very strong winds in recent days in the Canaries, things looking a little calmer as we head into next week. Plenty of sunshine over the central Med. There's a weather front approaching Madeira. That'll bring some rain later on through the weekends. Plenty of showers over northern Spain on Saturday, but much of the south of Spain dry and sunny. Some of those showers could affect Barcelona. Plenty of showers across Greece and Turkey as well. Quite a sunny Saturday for Italy. Temperatures rising in Barcelona by Sunday before turning colder next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing 1 or 2 outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast, and that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing again a fair bit of cloud. So yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland, a fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze though noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, it's 12:49, 12:50 now, and the Grand National runners and riders are gearing up for Ladies' Day at Aintree.
But there's some concern over the name, as always, after the Cheltenham races ditched it to become more gender inclusive, dubbing it Style Wednesday.
That was a mistake, though, wasn't it? Should Aintree follow suit, or is it all part of a cherished tradition? Look at those ladies. They're having a fabulous time, aren't they? We're joined by GB News reporter Sophie Reba, who I hope is also having a fabulous time at Aintree today for Ladies' Day. Sophie, you look fabulous. Tell us what's the mood.
It's always a fabulous day here at Aintree, and interestingly enough, you said Cheltenham have changed to Style Wednesday. I looked this morning. If you're trying to purchase tickets for Cheltenham next year, Style Wednesday has now become Ladies' Day once again. So they've reverted back to Ladies' Day. But back to Aintree here. Now, there was questions this year about just how many people would be attending Aintree after Cheltenham saw a bit of a slump in their ticket prices. But as you can see behind me, it is a sold-out event here, Ladies' Day today, Aintree. About 50,000 people were expecting to come through this gate to enjoy a day of racing, but also a day of fabulous fashion. A little bit earlier on, we were chatting to people inside Aintree to find out what they love most about this very special occasion.
Just the atmosphere, everything. I love it. Yeah, it is. It just brings Liverpool together and shows our city for what it is. I mean, we love it.
It's just nice to see all the ladies dressed up and checking out all the outfits, yeah.
And what are you expecting from today? Are you going to have a little flutter, or?
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully get some winners. If not, just champagne if not.
Well, I've competed here many times on show jumping, so it's nice to actually come.
So this is a nice day to come in your glad rags and have a good time. And yourself?
Just having a catch up and watching some good horse racing.
And what about the fashion? Is it fun to get dressed up?
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun to put on something nice.
Now, it's Ladies' Day. Some people might think it's just for the ladies, but judging by your outfits, for the men too.
Yeah, it is, yeah. We love it. As guys come every year, get dressed up, we go to town, we're from Leicester, we stay the whole weekend, we love Liverpool, we love the experience, brilliant.
Now, I will say, it is a little bit windy here today. We're seeing a lot of women in a similar situation to me having to hold on to their hats. But, not to jinx us, the sun is shining and it is expected to stay that way for the rest of today. And, very importantly, for the big day tomorrow, for the Grand National. We're expecting huge crowds again tomorrow. We'll be here for that as well. But today, as I said, it's all about the atmosphere. It's all about the fashion. You can see some lovely ladies right here behind us with their... and a gentleman right in front of us there, really enjoying the atmosphere, really enjoying the fashion, the style, just soaking it up here at Ladies' Day at Aintree.
Fantastic. Have a wonderful day, Sophie, reporting for us. I hope you enjoy the festivities as well. Tom, when I've been to the races, it's always been a bit nippy and a touch of rain. Today would be a lovely day to be down there.
Is that why everyone wears a really big rimmed hat? Just to keep the rain off, just in case?
I just had a little fascinator thing, so it didn't really help me with that. But yes, it may descend into some naughty behaviour a little later on, once the Prosecco kicks in.
Oh dear.
Or perhaps it's Pimm's, I don't know.
It's all very good-natured for the moment. I had to say, all the people sort of waving behind Sophie there. Yeah. Normally when people sort of come up behind a reporter on the camera, you get a bit nervous, but here it is so good-natured.
It is so good-natured. They're having a nice time, good people, but I'm sure lots of them are patriotic and love a bit of GB News. Brilliant stuff. It's a good day to find a husband or a wife as well, I think. Yes, the Ladies' Day, dressed up to the nines. The men also try and look handsome.
That's why they all turn up and turn out as they do.
I don't know if it's that. I'm not sure if it's a courting event.
Well, the more you know.
It's about the horses, Tom. We haven't even mentioned the horses.
Oh, they're trying to marry the horses?
No, they're not.
Perhaps just make the horse a senator.
Well, I don't know. There are some strange people out there, aren't there?
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Now, there's lots more to come, including this new poll. Yes, is the Reform Party really 6 points in the lead? That to come after your weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing 1 or 2 outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast. And that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing, again, a fair bit of cloud. So, yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland. A fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze, though, noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Do you know that Gladiators is the TV show most likely to get you thinking about moving, about exercising?
Well, who better to talk to us about than Gladiator and Olympian Montel Douglas. Good to see you this morning, Montel.
What way does Gladiators work in getting people to move?
I think Gladiators spans all generations, which is one of the things that I love the most. You know, we have everyone from 2-year-olds doing our moves and feeling like superhuman, all the way up to, 90s, 100, people saying that they're really inspired to start moving, to start thinking differently about their health in a range of different things, but also just to think that, why can't I do it? And everyone's got a story, everyone's journey, their strength journey is very, very different. Mine's been very different, like I said, from summer to winter into Gladiators. Even that was a massive shift. So I think it's just inspiring people to think that they can do it.
Montel, what if I just hit upon that area about can't do? I'm in a position where I can't do a lot of things now. I regard watching Country File on a Sunday night as huge exercise for me. What if you just believe you can't do anything?
I'm really sad that you said that, Eamon. You can do whatever the thing is as well, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're usually right. And I always say try. I think many of us, the first time I climbed up of a wall doing Gladiators, I'm petrified of heights, and people know that. And you will never know that now because I went on there and, I got frightened, I was brave, and then kept on doing it. And I think the hardest thing is to start. And what I hope is that, we're inspiring people to start something that they never thought, because you don't know until you try. And then also, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you just make that first move, you can get better. And then you'll feel braver when you do it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Friday, the 4th of April. Happy Friday. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Well, market meltdown. Yes, sorry to say, China says it will add a 34% tariff on US goods. And this is kicking off a bit of a global trade war. This comes as stock markets plunge by £2 trillion as Britain is braced for more financial chaos.
PM Sir Keir Starmer set to start phone calls to world leaders today, not to Trump, but other people try and work out how to mitigate these tariffs. They're saying to us the global economic landscape is shifting before our eyes.
And kicking up a stink, the Birmingham bin strike enters a 4th week as calls grow for the government to intervene, with rats as big as cats roaming the streets.
Well, the sun might be shining, but it's a gloomy picture over Birmingham as these bin strike dispute continues. You can see the rubbish piled behind me. Today, the Conservative leader on the council tells me there needs to be a public health emergency declared.
Can you imagine the stench with that sunlight on those bins? Anyway, royal root music. Yes, King Charles plays a carrot. Yes, a carrot. Among 350 guests at a Windsor Castle royal reception. Apparently it's the Vegetable Orchestra. Take a listen.
Do you think the King was actually blowing through the carrots, or just sort of miming along while the Vegetable Orchestra did their own work?
You're saying our monarch is a phony when it comes to vegetable recorder antics?
I'm just saying if someone passed me a hollow carrot and asked me to blow through it, I'm not sure I could...
Well, definitely the wrong way round, Tom, firstly.
What? No,
definitely the wrong way round.
End. No?
No. Thin end first.
Thin end I mean, firstly, this carrot is not hollow, so I don't know exactly what we're supposed to get out of it.
You're supposed to drill little holes inside.
Supposed to drill a hole through the middle and then it becomes a recorder. I mean, otherwise I'm just blowing a raspberry on it.
So, you're a man of many talents, but the recorder vegetable is not one of them. I'll have to say, on this occasion, the monarch has outplayed you.
Yes, although I've got my sneaking suspicion. I've got my sneaking suspicion that had I been surrounded by a vegetable orchestra, I think I could have secretly got away with not actually doing very much other than wibbling my fingers.
Perhaps you could do a banana recorder or a cucumber flute instead.
Or I could just, you know, smash a beetroot.
You could smash a beetroot in a tuneful way. Of course. But there you go. He's always up to something different, isn't he, our monarch?
Yeah, do you know what? It's moments like these where it's really easy to forget that he is undergoing cancer treatment.
Well,
and
yes.
It was what was it, last week, where suddenly he had to cancel an engagement. And I was just starkly reminded that actually he was undergoing cancer treatment, because most of the time you just don't notice and he seems so duty-bound.
He's full of beans and vegetables by the looks of things. But I love the eccentricity of some English people, eh? A vegetable orchestra. I mean, and people say we don't have a culture.
No.
Right?
I mean,
we do, right? And this is part of it.
The Queen cutting a birthday cake with a sword. The King playing a carrot instrument. I mean, when Prince William eventually, if he does, I mean, I'm not going to contemplate anything, but, you know, if in the long-distant future were Prince William to ever become monarch, he'd have to one-up them with something else. I just don't know how he'd do it.
No, I don't know how he'd do it. You know, answers on a postcard, I guess. gbnews.com/your say. Please get in touch with us as we go along. I wonder what Keir Starmer is going to be saying on the phone to all of these leaders. Oh, it's all getting a bit scary. Things are changing. Anyway, it's the headlines with Sam.
Very good afternoon to you. It's just after 1 o'clock. The top story this lunchtime. The Chancellor says the government is determined to get the best deal for Britain. That's after Donald Trump imposed new tariffs on UK goods. Rachel Reeves says talks are ongoing following Sir Keir Starmer's recent visit to the White House, but she wouldn't commit to a timeline. It comes as the FTSE 100 has plunged nearly 4% after China unveiled a 34% tariff on all US imports. That retaliatory move from Beijing has also rattled global investors, with European markets tumbling too. Well, Foreign Secretary David Lammy says Britons will be very concerned about how those rising tariffs could hit their finances.
We have been absolutely clear that all options are on the table as we ensure the national interests of the British people who will be very concerned at this time about how this affects the bottom line for them and their economic welfare. We will put their national interests first.
Despite those comments, Donald Trump claims the Prime Minister was very happy with the move.
We have a very good dialogue. I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
Ministers, though, say they will stay cool and calm, but retaliatory levies on US goods like whiskey, jeans and guitars are being considered. In other news, Russia's battlefield advances in Ukraine have slowed now to their lowest pace in 5 months. That's despite a new Kremlin campaign to conscript 160,000 more troops. It comes just hours after Moscow rejected peace proposals, saying they don't address the root causes of the war. Donald Trump, though, has voiced his fury at Vladimir Putin's stance, accusing him of stalling a ceasefire by demanding President Zelensky's removal. The Kremlin has also lashed out at a European plan to patrol Ukraine's border, with Russian state TV threatening to kill any foreign troops deployed there, with a warning saying that if you come to Ukraine, all of you die. In Birmingham, bin strikes have reached crisis point, with streets buried now under weeks of uncollected rubbish. After a month of walkouts, ministers have stepped in, calling the mess totally unacceptable and demanding a deal. Police have also installed barriers to stop picketers blocking waste trucks from clearing the backlog. Downing Street says that Unite must negotiate in good faith and end its opposition to changes tackling long-standing pay disputes. But the union's hitting back, accusing Labour Council leaders of slashing pay and declaring war on workers. The last of the UK's blast furnaces could shut within just days after Chinese owners cut off vital raw materials. Jinjai, which owns British Steel in Scunthorpe, rejected a £500 million government offer, causing talks to collapse. Union reps say that orders for coal and iron ore have been cancelled, meaning the furnaces could close even sooner than expected. Ministers are now weighing emergency options, including nationalisation, to save what is Britain's only source of virgin steel. And pubs, clubs and restaurants across the country could soon stay open later under a major shake-up of licensing rules. The government's giving mayors new powers to overrule councils and boost nightlife in key areas like London, Manchester and Birmingham. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says it's about cutting red tape, but the sector has already been hit with £3.4 billion in rising costs this month alone. Ministers say they hope the change will lead to more late-night openings and alfresco dining across the UK. Those are the latest headlines. That's it from me for another half hour. Let's get straight back to Emily and her carrot and Tom smashing those aubergines.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Serious news now. China hits back against Donald Trump's tariffs, saying it will impose an additional 34% tax on US goods from next week.
We seem to be taking a rather different approach to the Chinese and perhaps also the European Union. Back here in Blighty, Britain's bracing itself for more market chaos as the government considers its response to President Trump's tariffs. Is there any chance that we might slap on some retaliatory tariffs? It doesn't look like it at the moment.
No, business leaders are urging Keir Starmer to not retaliate, something that he is abiding by so far. But shall we have a little listen to what Donald Trump thinks that we're all thinking about his new tariffs?
Yes, we have a very good dialogue, and I think he was very happy about how we treated the tariffs.
Well, some people might be happy that they're not 20% like the European Union. I'm quite happy about that.
We've chopped off one of your arms. Be grateful we haven't chopped off both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Should we be happy? Well, for some, especially the car manufacturing industry, they're not very happy. Experts are warning that 25,000 jobs could potentially be at risk. But interestingly, JCB has become the first major British manufacturer to say it will bolster its US operations in response to Donald Trump's tariffs. So they're going to be moving some of their manufacturing facilities over there.
Well, should businesses get on with it, or how should we all respond? Well, let's speak to our political editor, Christopher Hope. Christopher, this is a trying time for the government.
Yes, hi Tom, Emily, welcome back to Downing Street. It really is. I mean, the uncertainty is reflected in those big falls in the stock market. No one knows what will happen next. This weekend, Sir Keir Starmer is expected to be in Chequers in the PM's retreat, the countryside retreat, where phone calls will start as early as tonight, where we'll see the PM speak to other world leaders, not Donald Trump we expect, but other world leaders about trying to work out a solution. How do you deal with this random collection of different levels of tariffs across the board? The UK has got 10%. That Trump may say on Air Force One that we should be happy with that. I think the problem at the moment is that we are so far down the league table of tariffs. We are not at the top table. China is taking up, of course, the headlines this lunchtime. That won't change number 10's position. They want to have a cool, calm reflection on what to do next. They're supported by both Kevin Badenoch and, it seems from last night, Nigel Farage. Now, I spoke to him for GBN tonight, and he offered some help to Keir Starmer on tariffs. Here's what he told me.
Well, he said he'd put tariffs on. He was elected to do that. And, of course, he's put us in the lower tier, the lowest tier. Interestingly, EU 20%, UK 10%. By the way, I'm not pretending 10% is good. No. It's just less bad than it would have been without Brexit.
It's all down to you then, because you took
well,
the EU.
It's something that most of the commentariat can't really see.
Do we owe you a thank you then, Nigel Farage?
I repeat the offer. If the government wants me to help, I would help, and I would do it. Even though they're a Labour government, I'd do it in the national interest.
There you are, Nigel Farage repeating the offer to support and help any attempt to get close to the White House. Now, he did tell me, fascinatingly, that he hasn't spoken to anybody in the White House since Trump came in back in January. He thinks that might cut across the communications with the UK government. He does, though, he says he knows many of the cabinet around Donald Trump and, of course, the president himself personally, and that could be a way in to try and do almost like a back-channel route to try and work out a solution. But we're not even clear right now how we got to 10% of tariffs. I think the government thinks it could be as little as 4%, but we are where we are, and this weekend is about trying to work out a solution. There's 417 pages of possible tariffed areas to deal with that may come into force shortly. So the clock is ticking. These tariffs come in tomorrow, and of course this weekend is a big weekend for employers with a national insurance increase on Sunday. Huge uncertainty in the UK and global economy.
Coming at once, isn't it, really? Christopher, you spoke to Nigel Farage, very interesting interview there. Have you seen the polling today for a general election? Looks like Nigel Farage's party is in 28% now of the vote. Is that possible?
Yeah, there's some clear turquoise water opening up between Reform UK and the Tories and Labour Party. Now, I asked Nigel Farage 3 times, do you want to be Prime Minister? And 3 times he wouldn't say he wanted to be Prime Minister. I think these are the questions you can now legitimately ask Reform UK. They are ahead in the polls. It looks like they would be the biggest party, maybe forming some form of coalition or supply and confidence agreement with the Tories, looking at those Find Out Now polling overnight. Yet this party has 4 MPs, no front bench, no policy platform developed. We're not clear what the policy is, for example, on the NHS. But there's so many areas we don't know about. Now, Nigel Farage says, bear with us, we're 8 months old. We've got 1,600 candidates standing in the May 1st local elections. I was in Reform UK HQ for that interview yesterday. I saw the graphs on the board. I saw the team he's got there. It does look professionalised. It looks different. It looks like they mean this, but he's saying to us as journalists, bear with us. The next step, of course, is May's local elections next year and those vital regional elections in Wales and Scotland. So we're going to get there eventually, and don't try and judge us too quickly by the legacy parties, as he calls them. We're an infant party. There is time. But I think people have to start thinking about Nigel Farage as a possibility to be Prime Minister, because the way those polls are going. But how he gets there, there's a lot of hurdles to get over, not least can he cooperate with anyone in the Tory party. Would Kevin Badenoch do a deal? That looks unlikely. If not her, maybe a different leader. Let's wait and see. A lot to play for.
Yeah, looking at all of these general election polls, it's easy to forget that the election isn't for another 4 years. But Chris Hope, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through those 2 enormous issues.
And it is also 5 years since Keir Starmer became the leader of the Labour Party.
It is.
5 years.
God, I remember when that happened. It was everyone was in lockdown. He had to make his announcement speech from his front room.
No one thought he'd make it this far, did they? At the time.
No, and frankly, for his first year as Labour leader, he wasn't doing well. The Labour Party was falling in the polls. Yeah. They lost by-election. They did very poorly in the local elections. Until Keir Starmer reorganised his internal team, brought some other people in, and arguably threw away all of his election promises.
Yes,
to become
you turned
leader.
on everything.
It's interesting.
Everything,
Was
literally everything.
Was that the moment after the Hartlepool by-election when he lost and almost resigned as party leader? There was a moment when he was going to resign and was talked out of it, and there was almost a challenge from Angela Rayner to become leader as well. After that, I mean, he tried to sack her, and then she ended up getting 5 new jobs. I mean, it was a complete.
He sacked a lot of people, didn't he? He sacked a lot of people over the anti-Semitism row, of course. Remember all the memes of him sitting on a fence on every issue? He didn't say anything about anything for a long time. But let's return to the tariffs, because they're going to be impacting a lot of the country, and Northern Ireland is one area that is going to potentially be hit quite hard by all this. Doogie Beattie, tell us.
Well, good afternoon, Tom and Emily. It's great to actually talk about this, because there's nobody talking to us at this minute in time, because the Small Business Federation, main manufacturers are all in meetings trying to figure out exactly where they are, and most of them are talking to our MPs to try and get clarity on this, because the Irish Sea border that's put in place was the EU's way of protecting their markets, protectionist strategies that they put in, so to make sure that none of the UK's goods after Brexit went into the EU with no tariffs or unchecked or lesser quality. The Irish Sea border was put in place. Now we really start to see how that works, because most British companies have decided to put their goods through Dublin, the Republic of Ireland, and then travel them up into Northern Ireland, because there's not as much paperwork as there is. So the EU very much controlling what comes in and out of Northern Ireland. And the EU's tariffs on the United States products are 39%. That means that businesses in Northern Ireland have to pay 39% on US goods coming in, and then once they prove that they haven't gone inside the EU, they then can claim some of that back. That takes up to 6 to 10 months. I've been talking to companies that are waiting on tens of thousands of pounds to be reset back to them from those tariffs, and it is putting real pressure on cash flows. The other part of this, of course, is that once it lands in the EU, those goods come through the EU, they then get sanctioned as EU goods. And if you listen to Donald Trump's speech, he says inside that he will really be hitting down hard on cheating. And that means countries putting through goods that are not originally in the place of origin, i.e. in the UK. So that means goods coming from the Republic of Ireland should be 20%, arriving in Northern Ireland. This is causing problems for manufacturers. The majority of our goods will face 20% tariffs, and that's putting real pressure on the Northern Ireland economy.
That's a really, really shocking statistic there. Doogie Beattie, thanks for bringing us that news. We'll have to wait to see just how the government respond.
Absolutely. Well, we want to let you know, because this is rather important. It is the final day to see how to win our massive spring giveaway. So it's your final chance to grab a designer handbag, designer watches, I think 2, and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Please do make sure you don't miss your chance to make it all yours. Here's the details.
It's the final day to see how you can win big this spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Hurry, lines close at 6 p.m. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's plenty more to come on today's programme. Indeed, an anti-abortion activist with a difficult-to-pronounce name has been found guilty of 2 charges of breaching a buffer zone outside an abortion clinic in Bournemouth. The Trump administration have taken a keen interest in this case. How will they react?
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This Sunday on GB News Breakfast, we've got a special treat for you.
It's me, Angela Rippon.
For just one morning, the broadcast and Strictly Star joins the breakfast team to bring you all the news as it happens.
Nice positive story then.
Another special day here on GB News.
Well, we're still here after the last one.
GB News Breakfast with me, Stephen Dixon, and Angela Rippon this Sunday from 6.
Yes, we'll be around for a while.
Right, well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 24 minutes past 1. I think it's about time we got some of your views, don't you, Tom?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
So Becca's got in touch. She says, so Keir Starmer will not allow Nigel Farage to help negotiate tariffs, probably because it would show him up. I can't write that. That was a bit rude. You called him a loser. You can't do that, Becca. Well, you can do that, but I can't read it out. Especially after saying that Farage couldn't run his own party, let alone the country. Starmer is clueless. So there you go. Should, you know, Keir Starmer be utilising Nigel Farage a little more, or would that just be ridiculous in terms of politics?
I mean, it is sort of going beyond the normal diplomatic channels. So I think we do actually have quite strong diplomatic channels in Washington, D.C. The embassy is really quite good at prepping British Prime Ministers. To be honest, I think Keir Starmer's Oval Office visit went very well. He knew exactly how to behave. I can imagine that for the previous 24 hours, he was sat in a room in the British Embassy in D.C.
You think he achieved anything,
with
really?
them telling him exactly how to behave.
You think he achieved anything? We just went on the minimum tariff, didn't we? Like so many other countries.
He could have treated us like the European Union.
Well, I don't think so. Well, David says Farage is just massaging his own ego again. Problem is Trump has sidelined Nigel Farage since becoming president. He does not need another bag man now. So, harsh words for Nigel there.
Something that we haven't mentioned is that we have the same tariff rate as Argentina. And Trump could not be closer to Javier Milei, the president of Argentina.
Yeah.
So if we're put in the same basket as Argentina, I mean, that's a pretty close Trump basket to be put into.
Well, Grumpy Grandad's going to wind you up with this one.
Oh, yeah?
When you look at the tariffs, some nations charge the states. I'm surprised nobody has done this before. Some of them have been really taking the mickey. All Trump is trying to do is level the playing field so the states don't get charged any more than they should. I think Trump has been very fair. I'll charge you what you charge us. So I don't think anyone can complain.
That's not how it's been done. That is... Oh... OK, this is...
There's a formula yes.
When Trump held up his sheet, he said, this is what these countries charge the United States. Those aren't the tariffs that the countries charge the United States. What Trump's team did was take the trade deficit, divide that by imports, and then divide that by 2 to get their tariff rate. I mean, it's not based on tariffs. It's based by an ethereal trade deficit.
I know all the arguments against tariffs. Believe me, I do. And I do believe that they are not a good thing, really, for economic growth and for prosperity in general. But must be pleased that the old JCB's going over to the United States.
Oh, yeah.
That's very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That's a win. Massive win.
2.8 trillion wiped off the stock market, but they've got some JCBs.
Oh, yeah, but I think you're getting
deal.
hysterical about the stock market. They're always doing random things. Yes, this is quite considerable. I'll grant you that.
It's real money.
But they go up and down, up and down. It's just people selling off, then they'll buy cheap, then it'll rise again. You know, these are sort of things that happen. I'm not going to pretend I'm a stock market expert. Of course I'm not. But I just don't think we should lose our heads over it.
It's like saying, oh, it's just a recession. We know the economy will grow in the future, so it's fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's bad.
Bad. Orange man bad.
No. Tariffs bad. Policy bad. Let's not do personalities or fake tan.
I love winding you up on this one. I love winding you up on this one.
Goodness me.
Anyway, in other news, and this is also sort of related to the Trump administration, because they've been playing a close, taking a keen interest. There we go. Words help me out sometimes. Taking keen interest in this case. Earlier today, an anti-abortion campaigner was convicted of 2 charges of breaching a buffer zone outside an abortion clinic in Bournemouth.
Well, the 64-year-old Livia Tasici-Bolt held up a sign that read, "Here to talk if you want," outside the clinic, which the judge ruled to have a detrimental effect on women attending the clinic, as well as members of staff.
Yes, this is an interesting one. Let's get the thoughts of Professor of Family and Parenting Research at the University of Kent, Ellie Lee. Thank you very much indeed for your time on this one. Hi. Just your thoughts on the fact this went through the courts and has ended with a conviction and now a sentence.
Well, I think the judgment is right, but the main contribution, I think, of this campaigner and the group supporting her, the ADF, is that they're trivialising free speech and the free speech crisis, and it's a big problem. I mean, there is a real free speech crisis, and it exists in places like the one where I work, where it's very difficult now to organise discussions, and people rarely do them on contentious issues, including abortion. And it's particularly difficult for people who oppose abortion to organise discussions, and I think that's a terrible situation to be in. So there is a genuine free speech crisis. It needs a robust response. We need to be doing something about it. Where there isn't a free speech crisis is at the front door of an abortion clinic. And the reason why there isn't a free speech crisis there is that no one has a free speech right to try and get a woman who's going to a clinic to have a chat with them about what she's doing. That's got nothing to do with free speech. It's an invasion of privacy.
So that's a really interesting point there, because it's often reported that this arrest happened because of what was written on her sign or anything, but it wasn't. It was the fact that this was an anti-abortion campaigner standing within an exclusion zone. She could have had no sign, she could have had anything written on her sign, she could have been doing star jumps or saying nothing at all. The fact was that she was in an exclusion zone she wasn't supposed to be in.
Yeah, and, you know, I think it's just ridiculous, these people who want to turn the entrance of an abortion clinic into some kind of pantomime place where they do their silly street theatre and then make a claim that their free speech rights are being infringed. They're not. I mean, they're just being completely idiotic. It's a waste of police time. It's a waste of court time. And there is a very serious problem in this country with free speech. And what they're doing is just wasting everybody's time, making everybody very confused about the issues. The point about an abortion clinic is it's a clinic, and women who go there to obtain a medical service. And nobody has the right outside that clinic or any other clinic to try and insist that people go.
Ellie, there was no talk of her, shouting out to the women or trying to intimidate them in that way or harass them. And also, 150 metres is very far away.
She's doing a stunt. And I would object to it.
Isn't that our right? Shouldn't that be our right as free citizens, just as it's your right as a free citizen to have an abortion?
No, and there is no right. There's no right for... There's people in this country who think there's too many babies being born. They don't have the right to go and park themselves outside a maternity clinic and try and engage the women going to that clinic about what they're doing and try and make a suggestion to them about whether they've actually thought about having an abortion. That's the equivalent.
But don't they have the right to do that? There's no law saying that you can't sit outside a maternity clinic and hold a sign saying, here, if you need to talk.
It would be a very bad thing to do, and I think it's uncivilised. I think it's extremely bad behaviour. And if it gets to a point, I mean, the reason why we're in this situation we are now with abortion clinics, it hasn't come from nowhere. It's come from years and years. The people that run the clinics were very tolerant of these people for a very, very long time. And they got closer and closer to the clinic doors. They insisted on parking themselves there. And they're making lots of women very upset and very worried and making things very difficult for the staff. Nobody that runs abortion clinics wanted buffer zones. They didn't want to have to do this. They just asked them to back off, just go to a bit further away from the door. And these people wouldn't do it. So that's why you've ended up in this situation. Now, you either think people attending clinics for anything should be able to attend those clinics unimpinged and not have other people getting in their way and trying to make them have conversations. Or you think that doing that has got something to do with free speech. It hasn't. What has got something to do with free speech is the fact that places like the one where I work, people now can't have debates about abortion. There is a genuine
well, I agree with you on that one, certainly.
And people should be focusing on that rather than the nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, the state of free speech in our universities is appalling, Ellie Lee. Well,
it's appalling.
It's appalling.
That's where there's a free speech crisis. There isn't a free speech crisis outside abortion.
Sure. But some people take the slippery slope view of all this, that freedom of expression must come first. Ellie Lee, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you so much. Really enjoyed your contribution there. Professor of Family and Parenting Research at the University of Kent.
Yeah, really interesting stuff to think about there.
I know people are torn our viewers are torn about this one.
Yeah.
I just don't think you can holding up a placard just saying that can really be considered intimidation and harassment. I just don't think it can, because then so many things are.
But the thing about the encompassing law is it almost doesn't matter what is on her... I mean, having a blank sign would also have contravened it.
True, I'm not sure. I'm keen on this idea of buffer zones, but hey-ho. It's Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, kicking up a stink. The Birmingham bin strike enters a fourth week. This is just getting ridiculous. Calls are growing for the government to intervene more. Rats as big as cats are roaming the streets. We even heard as big as dogs now. Surely only a chihuahua. That's after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. We're 34 minutes past 1. The top story this lunchtime. Downing Street says Sir Keir Starmer will speak to international leaders this weekend as the world reacts to Donald Trump's new and sweeping global tariffs. The Chancellor is also insisting the government is determined to get the best deal, she says, to protect British jobs and industry, but no timeline has been given. It comes as the FTSE 100 plunged this morning nearly 4%, and that was after China unveiled a 34% tariff on all US imports. The retaliatory move from Beijing has also rattled global investors, with European markets tumbling too. The Foreign Secretary David Lammy says Britons will be very concerned about how those rising tariffs could hit their finances.
We have been absolutely clear that all options are on the table as we ensure the national interests of the British people, who will be very concerned at this time about how this affects the bottom line for them and their economic welfare. We will put their national interests first.
Well, despite those comments from David Lammy, the US president claims that Sir Keir Starmer is very happy with the move.
We have a very good dialogue going. I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
Number 10, though, is refusing to back that claim from Donald Trump, saying that the economic landscape is shifting and the need for global engagement is clear. Well, in other news, an anti-abortion activist at the centre of a US free speech row has been found guilty today of breaching a buffer zone outside a Bournemouth abortion clinic. Livia Tsiki-Bolt was sentenced to a 2-year conditional discharge after breaking a public spaces protection order on 2 occasions. The 64-year-old held a sign saying, quote, "Here to talk if you want," near the clinic in March last year. Her case drew international attention, with the US State Department urging the UK to protect free expression. But a judge said that she failed to recognise the distress her actions could cause to other women using the clinic. And Birmingham's bin strike has now reached crisis point, with streets buried under weeks of uncollected rubbish. After a month of walkouts, ministers have stepped in, calling the mess totally unacceptable. Police have now installed barriers to stop picketers from blocking waste trucks from clearing the backlog. Downing Street says Unite must negotiate in good faith and end its opposition to changes tackling long-standing pay issues. But the union's hitting back, accusing Labour council leaders of slashing pay and declaring war on workers. Those are the latest headlines for now. A full roundup at the top of the hour, and Tom and Emily will be straight back after this.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good afternoon, I'm Russell Holding. The M8 in Glasgow is partly blocked eastbound by an accident just before junction 18 at Charing Cross, causing queues. On the A1 in Nottinghamshire, the northbound exit to the A46 at Winthorpe near Newark's closed because of a breakdown. On the M1 in Hertfordshire, the outside lane's closed northbound after an accident between junctions 8 and 9 from Hemel Hempstead to Redbourne, causing roughly 2 miles of queues. And there are delays of up to an hour to trains heading west from Taunton to Exeter St David's after a train broke down. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
The Daily Mail. White glamour model Martina Big, 36, who, quote, identifies as black, quote, after having tanning... I can't do it. Who identifies as black, quote, after having tanning injections, and this is the bit, this is the kicker at the end of it, announces plan to move to Africa. Yeah. There's so much to unpack here. This is a woman called Martina Big, who is well-named.
That's her birth name.
That is her birth name, but also the description of her chest. She's spent quite a lot of money getting the largest breasts in Europe. She now, however, has been injecting herself with some kind of pigment or colouring system to turn her from white to black.
Let's have a look.
So
this is before.
This is before, and then it's quite a shocking shift here. She's been to Kenya to go and meet the Masai Mara. They've christened her. They've given her a baptism, and so she's now believing that she is Kenyan, and she's going over to Kenya. So what is weird about this is it's like, obviously the...
Tell us what's weird about it.
Well, what is weird about it? There's obviously the initial thought of like, that's really inappropriate. This is black-facing, but not even in a temporary way. Yeah. But then hang on. she wants to be living her true life. So maybe she should be. This is where it's all got tied up in itself. Steve used to be a black woman before to this. Steve, we go to our correspondent.
What's the difference in blackface here and what gender-critical women would call women face, which they would say that's how they address men, biological men, now saying that they're women. They would say it's the same, like Dylan Mulvaney, who is, as far as I know, still an intact male, but sort of prancing around and sort of being this kind of
like a girl.
Yeah, like I'm a girl and that's very offensive to women.
In fact, this woman actually has a greater claim because evolutionarily, she will have black ancestors.
Of course, we all do.
Yeah, so...
And, according to her, she will, and I'm not a doctor, but she will have black children.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1:40 and it's Friday. But Birmingham and its bin strike has entered its 4th week.
Well, there are growing fears now that piles of rubbish could cause a public health crisis. It all comes as local government minister Jim McMahon says that the strike must be brought to an end.
The union bosses have accused the government of dragging their heels over the situation.
Well, let's speak to our very own Jack Carson, live from Birmingham, because, Jack, I mean, it is just astonishing to see those piles of bins behind you.
This is certainly the worst pile of rubbish that I've seen since I've been covering these strikes. Let's not forget these strikes started back in January on a 1 or 2 day basis over this initial dispute that Unite had with the council over the decision to remove the waste and recycling collection officer role. That's where all of this started. The council say that there is no need for that role with a new fleet of vehicles coming in and trying to move, they say, their waste and collection services in line with what councils do across the country. But the results since the 4 weeks ago when we had the all-out strike announced is what you can see behind me. Piles and piles of black bin bags. I could say there's 100, 200 at least black bin bags behind me, and that is causing problems with public health, concerns from residents with the size of rodents, the increasing amount of rodents. And what I've been speaking to pest controllers today, some of them have told me that things are bad at the moment, but when rubbish is eventually removed and those rats go looking for houses and looking for warmth and looking for food elsewhere, that's when the problem could get even worse. So maybe we've not even seen the state of the public health emergency that could well be here in Birmingham quite yet. But where this dispute ends, no one really knows. It seems to be a stalemate with the council not moving on their position. Unite saying that every proposal they seem to put forward is met with a kind of computer says no answer. But today, Number 10 saying that Unite needs to drop its objections to the long-standing pay issues, saying they need to get round the table and bring this dispute to the end. The government say the residents are our first priority and this dispute needs to be settled. But how it's settled, we don't quite know. Lots of alternative plans put forward, including by the local Conservative Party. I spoke to the leader of the opposition on Birmingham City Council, Robert Alden, earlier on. Here's what he told me.
Absolutely, it's been devastating for local residents, really. Parts of the city are now blighted by rubbish and rats on our streets. And there's been a total lack of leadership from the council here in Birmingham. That's why we published our plan as the opposition to end the strike, calling on the council to adopt that and get our city streets clean so residents can have a safe place to live.
I mean, Jim McMahon, met with council leaders yesterday. Much didn't really seem to come from that meeting. I mean, what's your message to the likes of government in urging them for support? What's your message to the likes of Angela Rayner?
Absolutely. Well, here in Birmingham, of course, we've got a Labour council, a Labour mayor and a Labour government nationally. And they really need to stop talking and start acting. We need concrete solutions to get the streets clean so we can protect residents of our city. And, of course, as well as the public health emergency there is from this crisis, there's also a reputational emergency. Birmingham's reputation is being ruined because of the failures of this Labour administration. And they need to be dealing with that, or it's going to hurt jobs and investment in our city going forward.
Well, the concerns from Robert Alden there are a lot about reputation as well and public health going into the coming months. Of course, the council earlier in the week declared a major incident over this bin strike dispute, allowing them extra resources in order to try and clear up this rubbish. But the cabinet member on the Council for Environment, Councillor Majid Mahmood, said that with some people not having their bins collected for almost 7 weeks now in parts of the city centre, it could be 3 or 4 weeks to get to normal service. this and another 3 or 4 weeks to try and clear up the rubbish, and the likes of which you can see behind me.
Thanks, Jack. A vivid picture of what it's like in Birmingham at the moment. Thank you, Jack Carson. George has got in touch from North Wales. He says, perhaps it's time for either the government or Birmingham City Council to take Unite to court for deliberately endangering public health. If someone dies of it, could be charged with corporate manslaughter. Well, I mean, perhaps that's extreme. Sounds a bit extreme, but I mean, the state of that, public health must really be an issue. The diseases that some of those rats must be carrying, disgusting.
It is just bonkers that a workforce can hold a council to ransom because the council want to make an efficiency. I mean, how on earth does an economy get going if you genuinely can't make efficiencies, even when, or especially when, your council is literally bankrupt?
Yeah, and Alan says...
Why does a workforce have the right to hold an employer to ransom?
Well, I don't know, Tom. It seems to be happening. Alan says, while the strike is causing untold health problems and is a sure sign of mismanagement by the council, it's difficult to imagine a local rat gaining the ability to achieve the proportions of a cat in just 4 weeks. Are you disputing what people have seen with their own eyes there, Alan? They're the size of cats, even dogs. Ratzillas.
And the cats were this big.
Right, we should read out some statements. Minister of State for Local Government and English Devolution, Jim McMahon OBE, said residents want this rubbish dealt with as soon as possible, and I've made it clear in today's meeting that we're ready to support to improve conditions on the ground. It is in the interest of all parties, and most importantly Birmingham's residents, that this strike must be brought to a close, with all parties redoubling efforts to get around the table and to find a resolution.
Well, the leader of Birmingham City Council, John Cotton, said, I respect the right to strike and protest. However, actions on the picket line must be lawful. And sadly, the behaviour of some now means that we are seeing significant impact on residents and the city's environment.
You say that again. Now, if you are in search of some spring sun away from the rubbish tip that is Birmingham, here's the forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After some very strong winds in recent days in the Canaries, things looking a little calmer as we head into next week. Plenty of sunshine over the central Med. There's a weather front approaching Madeira. That'll bring some rain later on through the weekends. Plenty of showers over northern Spain on Saturday, but much of the south of Spain dry and sunny. Some of those showers could affect Barcelona. Plenty of showers across Greece and Turkey as well. Quite a sunny Saturday for Italy. Temperatures rising in Barcelona by Sunday before turning colder next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing 1 or 2 outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast, and that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing again a fair bit of cloud. So yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland, a fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze though noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying. That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes to 2. Now, here's something you wouldn't expect to see from the King.
Yeah, he's playing a carrot. Why not, eh? It's the London Vegetable Orchestra. It was a reception for them to recognise those involved in community music across the UK. Gosh, we're nuts, aren't we, as a country? This is the sort of thing people get up to.
I mean, all power to him. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Well, shall we try and understand why on earth this was happening? Our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, has brought a carrot.
I've got my very own carrot.
Studio.
I have.
What?
Well, good question. That was my first reaction when I saw it, Tom. But the King playing a carrot was not on my 2025 bingo card. It's officially called a carrot recorder, if you didn't know that. What? And they are basically the London Vegetable Orchestra has whittled down the carrot to give it the holes and things that the King could then blow in and play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So it was all very cute and lovely. It was all part of a reception celebrating community music at Windsor Castle. But I think it shows the King getting involved. I can't imagine Queen Elizabeth II ever doing that. So perhaps there's a bit of a modern twist on the monarchy. Definitely soft power of diplomacy, perhaps, in action. But it was just a bit of fun. But I think after last week, of course, with his hospital scare, when he has an adverse reaction to his cancer treatment, it's nice to see him just having a laugh.
Hope not too soft power. I mean, hopefully the carrot wasn't rotten. Hopefully it was fairly turgid.
It was. It's locally grown, and also the King remarks that he hopes they eat them afterwards because he hates to see food waste. We know the King Charles loves sustainability and reusing surplus food, so I suspect. I hope so. So maybe it'll be boiled in a stew or something.
We're in need of a new hobby, aren't we, Tom? You know?
Do you want to play a carrot?
Down to the Vegetable Orchestra.
Wow. Looks like you've got a carrot as well, Emily.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Tom has already graced us with his tunes, and he's not very tuneful.
No.
OK, so I mean, it feels like...
To be honest, I actually...
want to eat it.
Behind the scenes, I did try and make this carrot into a recorder, but it didn't work, so...
Harder than it looks, isn't it?
It is harder than it looks,
I think you need a really thick carrot to be able to do it.
You need a really thick carrot.
You need a thick carrot, but you also probably need a drill bit that's pretty long to actually sort of get through. You can't just sort of pick at it.
Yes.
You've got to...
I have an urge to fight you with this.
It sort of looks like...
I have an urge
It does look like...
Oh, God.
Sorry, this is very childish.
Yes.
This is very childish.
Exactly.
But apparently the London Vegetable Orchestra is the UK's only ensemble offering audiences literally homegrown entertainment. So there you go.
There you go.
I think because we can't blow on these carrots because we haven't actually drilled through them, we can use them as other instruments, namely percussion.
Yes, but as you just tried, Tom, a bit of carrot flew onto Emily's laptop when you hit it.
Well, hang on. I think why don't I give us a drum roll out?
Okay, go on then.
Onto the next segment. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's Cameron Walker, everyone. Thanks very much.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Do stay with us because one woman is claiming to make £500,000 a year. You can stop now. Giving people tips on how to gain the benefit system, and you won't want to miss the reaction as the New York Stock Exchange opened very shortly indeed. Just how bad will it be? Will it be a sharp shock? We'll have a little look after the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing 1 or 2 outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast, and that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing again a fair bit of cloud. So yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland, a fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze though noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not 1, but 2 sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Friday, the 4th of April. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Market meltdown. China has just said it will add a 34% tariff on US goods, instigating this global trade war. It comes as the stock markets plunged by £2 trillion yesterday, and in half an hour, the New York Stock Exchange opens. How much further could it fall?
Somebody please tell me why I'd ever get a job when this is my weekly universal credits that I get. I mean, why would I get a job? I get your monthly wage in a week.
Well, that's nice, isn't it? Now, maybe morals, work ethic, I don't know. Anyway, benefits influencer brags about making £500,000 a year by cheating the welfare system, encouraging others to do the same. This comes as more than 500,000 young people have never worked. The state of it.
And GB News is at the races. Thousands are at the Aintree racecourse for one of the biggest days in horse racing calendar. Brace yourselves for a fabulous frocks and raucous behaviour.
Yes, so it's all going to get rather exciting in about half an hour, isn't it, Tom? Edge of your seat.
Goodness me.
Can't wait to see how much it tumbles by.
Well, it was the biggest drop on the in the US market since COVID yesterday.
Yeah.
It was stark. And two trillion pounds. That was almost $2.8 trillion was the number I read. I mean, this is just money that is actually genuinely hard to quantify. I mean, the entire UK economy is around $3 trillion. I mean, it's not far off having wiped off the entire size of the UK economy from companies listed in the United States.
That's not really what's happened, though. It's the stocks, and they can bounce back, and they can bounce down.
Well, it is their value.
And it's the value currently, yes, but only if everyone sells them off, right, at that price.
But that's the amount.
So we'll have to see what happens, and things can change. But yes, it's going to be a dramatic tumble. We all know it's going to be, but it'll be interesting to see the reaction. At the moment, Donald Trump is just saying it's going to be great. There's going to be a big boom. We're going to get all these jobs. Manufacturing is coming back here. It's going to be fantastic for the working classes. Keir Starmer's happy about it. So we shall see.
I mean, it is extraordinary given how the United States was founded, right? I mean, this country was founded protesting against tariffs, and now by executive order, not even with reference to the Congress, the biggest tax rise that anyone can remember has been imposed on the American people.
Well,
I mean,
he's hoping that it won't constitute a tax rise in the medium long term, isn't he?
But it is
because
a tax
he's
rise.
hoping that all the industry is going to come back to the United States. We're going to be speaking to JCB very shortly. They're saying they're going to move their facilities, well, make them larger in the United States as a result of this. So it's very interesting what's happening, actually.
Either it's a tax rise, or when the American Revolution happened, they were lying about there being a tax rise, because that was a tariff on tea.
Yeah, I understand what a tariff is, Tom. What I'm saying is that we may well see the markets correct at some point. But let's head to the news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. It's just after 2 o'clock. The top story, the Chancellor says the government is determined to get the best deal for Britain after Donald Trump imposed new tariffs on UK goods. Rachel Reeves says talks are ongoing following Keir Starmer's recent visit to the White House. However, she wouldn't commit to a timeline. It comes as the FTSE 100 has plunged nearly 4% after China unveiled a 34% tariff on all US imports. That retaliatory move from Beijing has now rattled global investors, with European markets also tumbling. Well, earlier, Foreign Secretary David Lammy said Britons will be very concerned about how rising tariffs could hit their finances.
We have been absolutely clear that all options are on the table as we ensure the national interests of the British people, who will be very concerned at this time about how this affects the bottom line for them and their economic welfare. We will put their national interests first.
Despite that, Donald Trump claims Keir Starmer is very happy with the move on tariffs.
We have a very good dialogue going.
Sorry.
I think he was very happy about how we treated them on tariffs.
Sorry.
Ministers say they will stay cool and calm, but retaliatory levies on US goods like whiskey, jeans and guitars are being considered. In other news, the UK's last remaining blast furnaces could shut within days after Chinese owners cut off vital raw materials. Jinji, which owns British Steel in Scunthorpe, rejected a £500 million government offer, causing talks to collapse. Union reps say orders for coal and iron ore have now been cancelled, meaning the furnaces could close even sooner than expected. Ministers are now weighing emergency options, including nationalisation, to save Britain's only source of virgin steel. And it comes as fears grow over industrial security and supply chains in the face of that US trade war. An anti-abortion activist at the centre of a US free speech row has been found guilty of breaching a buffer zone outside a Bournemouth abortion clinic. Livia Tasiki-Bolt was sentenced to a 2-year conditional discharge after breaking a public spaces protection order on 2 occasions. The 64-year-old held a sign saying "Here to talk if you want" near the clinic in March last year. Her case has drawn international attention, with the US State Department urging the UK to protect free expression. Russia's battlefield advances in Ukraine have slowed to their lowest pace in 5 months, despite a new Kremlin campaign to conscript 160,000 more troops. It comes just hours after Moscow rejected peace proposals, saying they don't address the root causes of the war. Donald Trump has voiced fury, though, at Vladimir Putin's stance, accusing him of stalling a ceasefire by demanding President Zelensky's removal. The Kremlin has also lashed out at a European plan to patrol Ukraine's border, with Russian state TV threatening to kill any foreign troops that are deployed there. Meanwhile, tensions are high in South Korea after the court there upheld the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. An emergency order has been issued to maintain public safety, with police on standby in case of any violent protests. Tears of joy and sadness swept through crowds earlier of pro- and anti-Yoon supporters as they gathered in the streets. Yoon's short-lived martial law declaration in December had already plunged the country into crisis, with a snap election now being held within 60 days. And pubs, clubs and restaurants across the country could soon stay open later under a major shake-up of licensing rules. The government's giving mayors new powers to overrule councils and boost nightlife in key areas like London, Manchester and Birmingham. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says it's about cutting red tape and helping the hospitality industry to grow. The sector, though, has been hit with a £3.4 billion rise in costs this month alone. Ministers say they hope the changes will lead to more late-night openings across the UK. And just before I hand you back to Tom and Emily, a breaking line in the last few minutes, in fact, from the Metropolitan Police. We have a statement confirming that Russell Brand has been charged with rape and 4 other counts of sexual offence following a Met Police investigation. Those charges reportedly relate to 4 women, with alleged incidents spanning from 1999 through to 2005 in Bournemouth and in Westminster. They include rape, indecent assault and counts of sexual assault. Russell Brand, who is now 50 and from Oxfordshire, will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday, the 2nd of May. And as more details come in, we will bring them straight to you with our Home and Security editor, Mark White, later this hour. Do stay with us here on GB News. Now, though, it's back to Tom and Emily.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, on that breaking news that we just heard, let's go straight to our Home and Security editor, Mark White. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Yes, Russell Brand has been charged, Mark.
Yeah, clearly a significant development. He'd been under investigation for some time. I remember being camped outside his home in Henley-on-Thames when the news first emerged that he was the subject of a police investigation over multiple allegations that had been made against Mr. Brand, allegations which he has always denied. But now, of course, the confirmation from the Metropolitan Police that following their investigation, they are now in a position to charge him. And in a statement, I'll just read that out. And bear with us, image-wise on the screen, there's a slight technical problem. But the Crown Prosecution Service, according to the Metropolitan Police, has authorised the force to charge a man following an investigation by detectives. The Met has issued a charge and a requisition to Russell Brand, 50-year-old, from Oxfordshire, in connection with the following offences. It's 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 count of oral rape, 2 counts of sexual assault. Now, detectives began their investigation in September 2023 after receiving a number of allegations, which followed reports by Channel 4's dispatches in the Sunday Times. You'll remember the allegations that were published in both that television documentary and indeed by the Sunday Times itself. It's alleged that in 1999 a woman was raped in the Bournemouth area. In 2001, it was also alleged that a woman was indecently assaulted in the Westminster area of London. In 2004, a woman, it's claimed, was orally raped and sexually assaulted in the Westminster area of London. And then between 2004 and 2005, a woman was, again, it's alleged, sexually assaulted in the Westminster area of London. So we're also told that Russell Brand will appear in Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday. So I shall be outside Westminster Magistrates Court for that hearing, as, of course, will many members of the media as well be. So we've also just had a statement from the Crown Prosecution Service. Jaswant Narwal of the Crown Prosecution Service said, we've today authorised the Metropolitan Police to charge Russell Brand with a number of sexual offences. We carefully reviewed the evidence after a police investigation into allegations made following the broadcast of a Channel 4 documentary in September 2023. We've concluded that Russell Brand should be charged with offences including rape, sexual assault and indecent assault. These relate to reported non-recent offences between 1999 and 2005 involving 4 women, as we've clearly just detailed from the Metropolitan Police there. And again, just going on to say that he will appear before Westminster Magistrates Court tomorrow. Now, that will be the first appearance. What happens there at the Magistrates Court is that someone first charged goes to a magistrate's court, the charges on the indictment are put to that person, and they stand up effectively and confirm their name, address, date of birth, that kind of thing. And then it will be, because it's clearly a serious indictable offence, referred up to the Crown Prosecution Service, the Crown Court, I should say, for a next appearance. That could be in a matter of days, it might be a week or two. And then at the Crown Court, we get more sort of a layout as to when this is expected to go to trial.
Mark, this is...
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask, because it's such a high-profile case and the charges are so serious, could it be that it's expedited through the justice system?
I wouldn't say expedited. It'll go through the justice system, the normal pace. I mean, the criminal justice system has a huge backlog of cases, that's for sure. But, you know, at some point, normally you would go to Crown Court and then the trial might follow 6 months later or whenever. It can be difficult if it's especially a historical case like this involving allegations of criminal offences that took place quite some time ago. That might mean that both the prosecution and actually more importantly the defence teams may take some time in preparing their case. So it might not be 6 months, it might be longer. We don't know at this stage.
But this is between 20 and 26 years ago. There's no statute of limitations here. There's no, I mean...
No, absolutely not.
But it will be harder to prove given the length of time?
Well, it can be harder given the passage of time. It just depends on what evidence they've been able to accumulate. It will depend on the complainants that have made allegations and the evidence that they give. But we're going down the road of getting into a case and the potential details of that we shouldn't do now that this case is very active. And to that point, I will just read you what the Crown Prosecution Service is saying to us, to all broadcasters, the press, media, and of course those on social media as well these days. They say the Crown Prosecution Service reminds everyone that criminal proceedings are active and the defendant has the right to a fair trial. It is extremely important, they say, that there be no reporting, commentary or sharing of information online which could in any way prejudice these proceedings. So clearly the big warning from the Crown Prosecution Service, because it's one of these cases, is such a high-profile figure. There has been an awful lot of commentary leading up to this point when the investigation first began. That has to end now because charges have been brought, and in order to ensure that he has a fair trial, that the legal process is not compromised, we just can't go into much in the way of background, except to say, of course, everyone knows Russell Brand, not just the comedian, the television personality, the radio DJ. He went on to have a successful career in Hollywood as well, has moved and sort of withdrawn from that, has become much more of a social media phenomenon now, an internet phenomenon and commentator now.
Absolutely. Well, that's a very important warning. Yes, have to be very careful around active cases. Mark White there, our Home Security editor, bringing us that breaking news that Russell Brand has been charged with rape and other serious offences.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's plenty more to come on this show. Indeed, the markets will open in New York in around 10 minutes' time. What on earth will happen on the New York Stock Exchange? $2 trillion was wiped off yesterday. We'll wait to see what happens today. That after the break.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Because we've got this Snow White premiere. What's going on with it? I've been hearing about this Snow White film for about 2 years, and it doesn't seem to be good news in the headlines.
No. I mean, it's quite unusual for a kids' film to get so much controversy, but it has been sort of dogged by sort of bad headlines and bad press for quite a long time. And then in the sort of immediate run-up to its release, it looks as though they've sort of scaled back a lot of the promotion to sort of avoid more controversy. But that in itself is creating headlines. I mean,
we're seeing some of the trailer now for anyone watching it on TV. We've seen some of that. I must say, when I watched the trailer, I wasn't particularly impressed by it.
Well, I mean, some of the Disney live actions have been brilliant and some of them have been less good. I mean, I sort of think any press is good press. I mean, more people are aware that the film's coming out now than would have been if we hadn't had all this bad press. And I suspect that, I mean, people who are going to go are people taking their kids. And the kids aren't bothered about what one of the actresses has said or whether the dwarves are real or CGI. Like, I think it'll probably do very well. I think it depends whether it's any good, really. I think that's the most important thing. something. I think the negative sort of press and controversy around it probably isn't going to have a massive factor in the takings.
Yeah. What does scaled back mean in terms of the premiere? What does that actually, how will that look?
So a lot of films will have a big premiere in Leicester Square. That's the sort of like, I guess in Europe, the sort of HQ for premieres, and you get a lot of, you know, the world will jet in to cover that. Whereas this has had a sort of quite a small scale premiere in northern Spain in a castle. So it kind of looked quite grand, but it was on a very small scale. So, and there haven't been as many interviews and things like that with the cast, I think, because of everything that's happening. So it has been scaled back a bit. But I mean, like, we're talking about it now, so it's working, whatever they are doing.
GB News, the People's Channel. I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 20 minutes past 2. Now, in just 10 minutes' time, the New York Stock Exchange will open. Yesterday, £2 trillion was wiped off the value of listed firms there. So will today bring further carnage? China, of course, has hit back with retaliatory tariffs.
Yes, and Britain is bracing itself for more market chaos, of course, as the government considers how to respond to all of these tariffs. Business leaders are urging Sir Keir Starmer against retaliating. Indeed, Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the UK will try and get the best possible deal, though.
Well, of course, we don't want to see tariffs on UK exports, and we're working hard as a government in discussion with our counterparts in the US to represent the British national interest and support British jobs and British industry. Those conversations are ongoing at the moment, but we're determined to get the best deal we can for our country.
The Chancellor speaking there before her latest jazz performance. But let's debate. Let's debate this now with the former Labour advisor Kevin Marr and the chair of Republicans Overseas, Greg Swenson. Greg, let's start with you because you're a Reagan guy. I mean, what do you genuinely feel about these tariffs? I mean, this is not making for happy reading in the stock market.
Yeah, we definitely experienced some volatility. That's an understatement. And look, markets don't like uncertainty. So you had President Trump announcing these tariffs. There's been a lot of uncertainty coming out of the White House because of so much change, not only in tariff policy and trade policy, but even within that subsector, you know, there's been some ups and downs. So markets want some certainty, and then I thought they'd get some certainty on Wednesday night with the announcement, but then of course you've had these threats of retaliatory measures or countermeasures, and that's just going to add to the volatility and the uncertainty. So I'm not surprised to see the markets down. I think today, second day, you'll see a big sell-off. I'm guessing there'll be some buyers coming in midday and trying to buy on the dip. So I'm not too worried about near-term volatility. What's most important here is the long term and how it affects Main Street, not just Wall Street. So look, I hear a lot of, moaning about President Trump, starting a trade war, putting tariffs on people. These are tariffs that are just reciprocal. There's other countries, our trading partners, have used tariffs for generations at much higher levels, by the way, as well as other trade barriers than the U.S. has been using. So this is just making it a level playing field in a way. The other problem is we've got massive trade deficits with our trading partners, not the UK, by the way, but the EU, Canada, Mexico, and especially China. That's unsustainable. It's costing us a fortune. So every year we have about $1 trillion trade deficit. The Chinese have a $300 billion plus trade surplus with the U.S. We borrow money to fund that, and that's not sustainable.
OK, well, Kevin Marr, we'll bring you in, former Labour advisor. Kevin, what do you reckon to all this? How should we Brits be responding? How should the government be responding?
Well, I think the government's in a bind. I mean, there's a level of, I think, at first of relief that the figure of 10% is not obviously matching the European Union tariff of 20%. So in a sense, we've got a kind of mates rate deal from President Trump. We've been given lines. We've not been given the cane. I think that's probably one way of describing it. Now, clearly, what's going on behind the scenes is there are intensive negotiations that have been going on for some time, trying to get a trade deal with a UK-US trade deal. And I think you see the tenor of the remarks from a minute ago there from Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and from David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary. They're talking about putting the national interest first. So they don't want to get pulled into a tit-for-tat arrangement where we just immediately reciprocate with 10% tariffs of our own. I think what they want to do is to try and win a strategic position rather than a tactical battle. So to try and avoid an immediate impulse. Now, the politics of that in the country will be interesting to see how that plays out. I suspect most people will think, well, if he's done that to us, why don't we do the same back to him? So it's a difficult line for ministers to tread to say, actually, look, at the very big geopolitical level, we might actually be in a much better place than many other countries. Let's not blow it. After all, the one thing we do know about President Trump is, it is about the art of the deal. He is about transactional politics, and it might be that actually, taking the hit in the short term with the tariffs, but actually getting a better trade deal might be the optimum outcome for the UK.
That is a really interesting point because, of course, that negotiation is ongoing. And Greg Swenson, it does seem that Donald Trump is predisposed to doing some sort of deal with Britain. But to your earlier point on uncertainty, Donald Trump in his first term did a deal with Mexico and with Canada. He got rid of NAFTA, he brought in the USMCA, and then he ripped it up in his second term. I wonder if the UK does sign a brilliant, big, golden, shining trade deal with Donald Trump. Can we rely on that trade deal?
Yeah, I think the UK definitely can rely on it for a few reasons. One is he didn't actually rip up NAFTA. He threatened to rip up NAFTA, but he's actually honoring the commitments in NAFTA. So he's exempting the products that are included there, for example, auto parts. So he's exempting what was written in the first NAFTA trade agreement. And I don't think there's any shame in trying to renegotiate something. We've done it before. But a couple of things on, you mentioned Reagan, and I think there's a lot of consistencies between Trump and Reagan. Reagan actually used tariffs quite aggressively, especially against the Japanese, because he was concerned about the U.S. auto industry. And I think President Trump shares the same concerns with the auto industry, with other manufacturing industries. And they both really embraced tax reform and deregulation. That's what made the Reagan Revolution. And it's working for President Trump.
OK, well, Greg Swenson and Kevin Marr, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you very much to you both for your time. I read quite an interesting article by David Frost. Have you read it in The Telegraph?
I haven't yet read it.
He's talking about how it's not all about economic output for Donald Trump with this. This is about building back that sense of national solidarity and building back the morale of working-class people in America, or the middle class, as they call them, and it's about so much more. And I can see that because Donald Trump is a businessman, right? He knows that there are going to be costs that come from tariffs, right?
I'm sure he does.
So it's about what you think he doesn't understand that.
I think he genuinely thinks America will be richer for these taxes, and it won't be.
But he believes that it's going to potentially do more than just improve economic output, if indeed it does, in some areas. More about a sort of pride in America, national solidarity, that sort of thing. Jobs, where jobs have been lost in industries that were decimated because of changes in the global world order, whatever you want to call it, which I just find quite an interesting point. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's just quite an interesting point coming from someone like David Frost, who obviously is a free market Brexiteer.
He is, and he doesn't like tariffs, and he negotiated a zero-tariff deal.
Yeah, he says he doesn't like tariffs, he's talking about, but he's talking about why this is happening.
A lot of people are trying to sort of almost put more intelligent thoughts in Donald Trump's head than he actually has. I think a lot of smart people are trying to sort of try and think, why on earth, how could I justify doing something like this?
What is the you might not like Donald Trump, but he's obviously an intelligent man.
I think on
he's achieved more than most people would achieve in 10 lives.
He was successful in business, although he went bankrupt a few times, but he was in property, which is the right game to be in.
How many businesses have you set up, Tom?
It was the right game to be in for the last 30 or so years. He did very well out of the property boom, absolutely, although he did manage to bankrupt a casino casino, which I'm not quite sure is that
okay, get
easy
to the point.
do. Right, so we're going to go to New York now. We're waiting for that New York Stock Exchange to open. It will open at past, of course. We'll be listening to the bell that indicates the day's trading begins. And as soon as that bell rings, we'll be able to see what those early trades are, how the market moves today. Yesterday, a huge sell-off. Yesterday, trillions of dollars lost. What will today bring? Could there be a rebound, or will things sink further still? Judging by the markets in the UK, judging by the Asian markets as well, there has been a sell-off. Things have not been pretty. But let's listen in to the New York Stock Exchange as they're beginning to ring that bell.
Thunderous applause there as we wait for the bell to ring in New York.
I don't know why they're all so happy.
Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Right, OK, there we go. It's happened.
It's happened. Trading is open. We'll try to bring you some of those numbers as soon as we get them in. Let's turn now, however, to what should happen in this country. For some, especially in the car manufacturing industry, experts warn that 25,000 jobs could be at risk.
But JCB has become the first major British manufacturer to say it's going to bolster its US operations in response to Donald Trump's tariffs. I'm delighted to say we're joined by the Chief Operating Officer at JCB himself, Mark Turner. Mark, very interested to read this news about your company. Why have you made this decision then?
Well, good afternoon. We made this decision in light of the tariff changes, but also it's on the back of our global expansion plans. We already started last year in San Antonio to build a factory, and all we're doing is pulling forward our medium-term investment to the short term. So it's part of our ongoing strategy to grow our business globally, and clearly what's happened this week means we need to accelerate.
So, Mark, this isn't coming at the cost of British jobs. This is investment that you were going to make being brought forward, and your operations in the UK are exactly the same size.
Yeah, our operations in the UK are exactly the same size. You know, we play in the market over 1 million units a year, and we've got 10% market share. So whatever we move to North America over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll just backfill in the UK with other volumes in other markets. So we're quite excited about this, our investment plans, and clearly what's happening in North America means we've got to accelerate a bit.
And as Chief Operating Officer at JCB, how do you feel and how does the company feel? I'm sure people have different individual views really on what's happening in the United States. But overall, can you see reason to what Donald Trump is doing?
I'm not sure whether I'm qualified enough to say is it reasonable or unreasonable, to be quite honest with you. I think he's done what he's done. And I think that most businesses around the world have watched more American television this week than we've ever watched in our lives.
Yes.
And we've got to deal with it. We've got to deal with the consequences.
And some of the consequences we're seeing on our screen now, the Dow Jones below 40,000 points, down 2.3%. That's on top of the loss of around 4% that they had yesterday. I mean, this must be a nervy time for your business. I suppose this bringing forward an investment is your response to this. But is there anything else that you're doing or expecting in the months or indeed years to come?
Well, as you say, you know, the whole world's watching. This is the biggest change to the economics of the world since COVID. And the markets will be the markets. We can't influence the markets as JCB, and we'll keep a very close eye on it. There's still opportunities around the world, and we intend to push those opportunities even quicker now.
And in terms of what's going on in your business here in the United Kingdom, what do you see as the bigger threat? Tariffs coming from the United States or domestic policy coming from the budget and spring statement in the way of tax rises?
I mean, clearly tariffs are a concern for us as an organisation in the UK. But, you know, the UK government have, I would suggest, on the trade deal, worked very hard. We came out relatively on, 10%. But more importantly, we need to accelerate the UK construction industry and all their plans in terms of affordable housing, changing planning rules, etc. We'd encourage them to expedite it even quicker.
And what do you mean by that? We're looking at changing to planning rules that we can see some detail, but we don't have a lot of detail in. There's an infrastructure bill going through Parliament at the moment. Are there any big-ticket single items that the government is not looking at doing right now that you think they should change course on?
I don't think they should change course. I think they should communicate more, and more importantly, bring those forward as quick as they can to offset some of these issues. I mean, with the tariffs, I'll be honest with you, we're spending a lot of time with our supplier base around the world because automotive has been hit very hard by Donald Trump, and we share a common supplier base. So hence, we have to make sure those suppliers are solid moving forward with JCB's plans and also the car industry plans.
And in terms of looking globally, away from the United States and even the United Kingdom, where do you think that growth, the economic growth around the world is going to come from? Who do you see as future trading partners?
Well, I think in terms of JCB as a company, in terms of the construction industry, we're very prominent in India. That's a market that's still growing and is very strong. And I say construction will keep growing. GDP means construction is going on, and we're in the construction industry. So, we have very clear plans for the next 5 years about our products, our innovation, our investment in new markets and new opportunities. We've got to accelerate them. We can sit and watch the world, and we have to respond in a positive way to how the world changes. But also, we have our own strategies. We must carry on with them.
Of course, these automotive tariffs, so I'm not sure, I suppose they will have hit many of your vehicles. Does that mean your prices have had to go up commensurately?
No, I mean, clearly the world will look at pricing on all products, but also for the supply base we share with the auto industry, we're just very conscious that's a big part of their business, the auto world is. We've got to make sure and we deal with global suppliers. We have a very complex supply chain, but also we have many global suppliers that supply us plants around the world. And they'll move their transition into North America, and we'll work with them to make sure we've got a cost-effective solution. It is the unknown, and as we're watching the markets change by the minute, we've got to keep a very close eye on the global markets, what happens there. And I know China's responded today. Is that the right thing or wrong thing? Well, we're not in China, but all I do know is we have to keep a very close eye on the markets and make sure we accelerate our strategies, protect our organisation and all my colleagues around the world.
OK, well, Mark Turner, the Chief Operating Officer of JCB, thanks so much for your time and being with us here as the New York Stock Exchange opens, immediately collapsing 1,000 points, down below 40,000 and down 2.6% the last time that we saw that.
Very interesting to hear from JCB, eh? Big decisions to make. Got to keep an eye on everything that's going on at the same time. Hard to run a big business at this time. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, besides from all the tariff news, the stock market going down, pubs, clubs and restaurants across the country could soon stay open later. Yes, a major shake-up of licensing rules. Lots of people complaining that you can't get a drink late at night, you can't get any food past 9 o'clock. Stay tuned to find out if Nightlife is going to have a proper shake-up.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News Travel.
Good afternoon, I'm Russell Holding. In North Yorkshire, the A65 is blocked eastbound by an accident at Orstwick, causing queues towards Settle. In Carmarthenshire, the A48 is partly blocked eastbound, just after the A476 at Cross Hands, causing queues. On the M4 in Newport, there's a lane closed eastbound at Junction 25 at Kyle-Leon after an accident, with queues from Junction 28 at Tredegar Park. On the M25 in Surrey, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise, just before Junction 10 for the A3 after an accident, with queues from Junction 11 at Chertsey. And Eurotunnel reporting a wait of up to half an hour for passengers at Folkestone. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're
failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
This Sunday on GB News Breakfast, we've got a special treat for you.
It's me, Angela Rippon.
For just one morning, the broadcast and Strictly Star joins the breakfast team to bring you all the news as it happens.
Nice positive story then.
Another special day here on GB News.
Well, we're still here after the last one.
GB News Breakfast with me, Stephen Dixon, and Angela Rippon, this Sunday from 6.
Yes, we'll be around for a while.
Some breaking news to bring you now. Let's go straight to Mark White. Mark, what's the news?
Well, it is the news that Russell Brand has now been charged with allegations of rape and sexual assault against 4 separate women, allegations that date back from 1999 to 2005. So historical allegations. He has been under investigation for a couple of years now, of which, of course, there's been much commentary in the past, but now we're at the point where he's been charged, and clearly we can't go into speculating about all of the detail behind this particular case, but we can tell you that the Metropolitan Police and the Crown Prosecution Service have now confirmed that Russell Brand has been charged with 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 count of oral rape and 2 counts of sexual assault. Detectives began investigating Russell Brand in September of 2023. That was after allegations were published in the Times, the Sunday Times, and in a Channel 4 Dispatches documentary making allegations against the comedian, actor and radio personality, now of course an internet sensation as well. It's alleged that in 1999 a woman was raped in the Bournemouth area. It's also claimed that in 2001 a woman was indecently assaulted in the Westminster area. In 2004 it's claimed that a woman was orally raped and sexually assaulted, again in the Westminster area of London. And then between 2004 and 2005, a woman, it's claimed, was sexually assaulted in the Westminster area of London. I should say that Russell Brand has previously denied the allegations that have been made against him, describing the allegations as very, very hurtful. He, we understand, is in the United States at the moment. So he will appear in Westminster Magistrates Court to answer these charges on Friday, the 2nd of May. And that's quite a while from now. Normally, you would get charges and then there would be a court appearance at the very earliest opportunity. Can be later that day. Often it's the very next day. But because he is in the US, we believe there will have been conversations about his return, and that date is scheduled for the 2nd of May.
Well, Mark White, thanks very much indeed for bringing us that latest news.
Well, in more positive news, pubs, clubs and restaurants across the country could soon be allowed to stay open much later under a major shake-up of licensing rules.
Yes, the government is giving mayors new powers to overrule their local councils and boost nightlife in key areas like Manchester, Birmingham and London.
So you've got to hope the mayors take a laissez-faire approach. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says it's about cutting red tape and helping the hospitality industry grow.
Well, delighted to be joined now by the owner of Proud Nightclub.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Alex Proud. Tell me, this must be good news to you. I mean, people consistently complain that that nightlife is just dying, that you can't get a drink late at night anymore.
Well, I mean, to some extent, they're right. You can't. I mean, this government and the last government have hardly supported hospitality, and there's slightly a hypocrisy of a government that's whacked up national insurance, is increasing workers' rights and all sorts of other things which are killing us dead, and business rates. But this does seem like good news, and we're really hopeful. I mean, it would be fabulous to see that the centre of London, the centre of Manchester, the centre of Birmingham return to being the world-class centres of nightlife that they once were before they were decimated by a very overzealous local councils and police forces, which seem to take delight in shutting crime creators, which is what the police generally regard nightclubs are, which is kind of anywhere where a large number of people are together, which let's not try and explain that to the Met, though, because it might be a bit beyond their intellectual abilities. Sorry.
No, don't hold back.
It does seem like this is a positive step, though, Alex, because I suppose a mayor of a large area cares more about the sort of economic growth and global reputation of a city as a whole, whereas a local councillor might be more concerned about a local resident worried about noise or the street being too busy or sort of anti-growth elements like that.
Yes, when you deal sometimes with local councils, I mean, I've been in a licensing meeting with my first clubs where the local councillor wrote the time wrong and had originally said it was 12:20 and then couldn't read his writing, so he didn't have his glasses, and I got a 2:30 licence. That's how random licensing can be at a council level. I think you're completely right. It needs to be considered that there was a reason that Paris failed abysmally as a city in the 1990s and early 2000s, and it was because no one wanted to work in Frankfurt or Paris because they were boring.
Yeah.
And guess what? If London does that after Brexit and we don't have the restaurants and the clubs, we're going to be Paris back then. And you know, the irony was, I remember I used to write a column for the Telegraph and I wrote an article saying London won, and we did. Somewhere mid-2000s, 2005-06, London was the greatest city in the world. And then we just conspire to completely trash it. And it's not really just that late licenses are issued, it's that the police stop trying to shut clubs when there's a random fight.
I think you're absolutely right, Alex Proud. I think, you know, maybe Frankfurt's more pumping now. Maybe. Who knows? Alex Proud, thank you very much indeed. You're the owner of Proud Nightclub. Good luck to you. I hope people do continue to go out, despite everything being against them.
Absolutely. But if you want to go out somewhere where perhaps it stays open later, Spain might be up for you. Here are the holiday destinations for travel.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After some very strong winds in recent days in the Canaries, things looking a little calmer as we head into next week. Plenty of sunshine over the central Med. There's a weather front approaching Madeira. That'll bring some rain later on through the weekends. Plenty of showers over northern Spain on Saturday, but much of the south of Spain dry and sunny. Some of those showers could affect Barcelona. Plenty of showers across Greece and Turkey as well. Quite a sunny Saturday for Italy. Temperatures rising in Barcelona by Sunday before turning colder next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing one or two outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast. And that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing, again, a fair bit of cloud. So, yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland, a fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze, though, noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Right, it's 2:50, it's Friday. Let's end the show by going straight to Sophie Reaper, who's live at Aintree for the Grand National. It's Ladies' Day. Sophie, tell me what's going on then.
Well, we're holding on to our hats here at Aintree because the wind is in fact picking up. The sun is glorious, but it is windy, so lots of women inside Aintree today are having to hold on to their fascinators, otherwise they're being blown away. But I will say, we're in Liverpool, of course, so the hats are higher, the dresses and suits are more flamboyant, and it's all because it's Ladies' Day. It's all about the fashion today. Of course, there is some horse racing taking place. We have to acknowledge that. There's lots going on inside Aintree. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. People are just, you can hear it from here actually, the cheers for the racing and for that coveted Style Award, which will be taking place in the next couple of hours. Atmosphere is amazing, the sun is shining. What more could you ask for ahead of the big Grand National tomorrow here at Aintree?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sophie. I absolutely love the fashion at Aintree and love seeing the pictures of people getting a little bit too merry, perhaps later on in the day. But yes, my co-host has disappeared. He's not unwell. He's actually just gone off to get some sun. Apparently it's sunny outside here. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's taken off his tie. He's taken off his jacket. Tom, what are you up to?
Emily, the weekend has started early. Yes, across the UK, it is the hottest day of the year. It's 22 degrees Celsius in parts of the UK, if you can imagine such a balmy temperature. Now, it might not sound like the hottest temperature you've ever heard of, but I'll tell you what, it's hotter than Ibiza. It's hotter than the Algarve. Yes, we can enjoy the sunshine here in Blighty today in the hottest day of the year. So I've popped down to the Grand Union Canal. I've been tempted to have a dip in, but I might not do that on camera. This is a time to enjoy the sunshine, and I'll tell you what, my mood improves no end whenever the sun is out and shining in the sky, and finally getting some heat on what has been a rather too long and cold and dreary winter.
Sun to, you know, take away the misery of Donald Trump's tariffs for you, Tom?
Oh, it's a time to forget about what exactly the FTSE 100 or indeed the New York Stock Exchange has been doing. It's time to forget about the Dow Jones having 1,000 points wiped off it, going below 40,000 points for the first time in I don't know how long when. But no, let's be serious. The sunshine is always a great time to come out, enjoy it. Barbecues this weekend, you bet.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Tom, you look brilliant. The sun looks brilliant. The Grand Canal, or what it's called, looks brilliant too. Have a fabulous weekend. And thank you at home for watching and listening to Good Afternoon Britain. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. But don't go anywhere. It is Martin Daubney up next.
Well, I was all poised there for Tom Harwood just to jump in the canal, to go in there and delight the nation. On my show today, Waite's House, a luxury mansion block earmarked for illegal immigrants, a significant victory. The local community pushed back with the help of GB News, with the help of this channel and Suella Bradman, their MP. It has been stopped. A victory for common sense, a victory for the residents. I'll have the campaign leader on my show today. Plus, Britain's tallest woman is coming up short in love. I'll be telling her tall tale later on in the show, but first, here is your magnificent weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a grey, damp start for parts of Wales and southwest England, but the sunny skies are returning, and for most it is another fine day. Quite warm inland, warmest day of the year so far, but it is quite cool on some coasts. High pressure is bringing the fine weather, but it's also bringing this easterly breeze, which will bring a chillier feel on some of these North Sea coasts again, and quite a bit of cloud at times across parts of northeast Scotland. Quite a lot of cloud to start the day for Wales and southwest England. That is moving away, maybe just providing one or two outbreaks of rain across southern parts of Northern Ireland before here too scooting away. In the sunshine in the south, 21, 22, maybe even up to 23, but single figures across the far northeast. And that colder air is going to head its way a little further south through the night and as we go through the weekend, bringing, again, a fair bit of cloud. So, yes, it feels quite chilly in the northeast of Scotland, but still a very pleasant evening on the west coast of Scotland. Should see some sunshine to end the day across much of Northern Ireland, a fine end to the day for most of England and Wales as well. That breeze, though, noticeable on the North Norfolk coast there up through Lincolnshire, whereas further west it'll still feel quite mild. Now, as we go through the night, temperatures will fall everywhere and the cloud will increase across these eastern areas, spreading in again from the North Sea, fed by this increasing breeze. So that's going to make for a murky old start to the weekend across the Midlands, much of eastern England. Pockets of frost likely through some sheltered glens of eastern Scotland, but temperatures holding up with the breeze across the southwest. That breeze will again be noticeable on Saturday, if anything, strengthening here, and it will be a drab old start for a good chunk of England and eastern Scotland. The cloud will melt back to the coast. Some parts of the North Sea may stay murky, but for most it is a sunny Saturday, not quite as warm as today, and certainly you will notice that breeze in the south, particularly so also on the east coast.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
People sometimes think if someone is homeless, they're not
trying for work, or I mean, you clearly have been.
Yes,
but just not getting enough to actually be able
That's
to
the thing.
fund what's so
and
expensive.
when you're self-employed, anyone who's self-employed will understand me that it's got its moments of being busy and quieter.
And have you experienced that stigma of being homeless and not having anywhere to call home?
Yes, I definitely have. I felt it through losing friends. I've realised who my true people are, I would say. It's crazy how humanity still exists. More recently than not, I put a post out saying I didn't have anywhere to go one of the nights, and I was in the council the next day and I needed to be in Windsor because the council or nearby, and a couple of people reached out that I didn't even know, a couple, and I stayed at theirs, and they even give me a warm meal. So humanity does exist. And but where's my friends in all this, you know?
Yeah.
A few friends have stepped up a little bit more now and realised